bro.
Right.
Yeah, that's why, like I said, it's game. If there's a game 7 on Sunday, fuck it, I'm on the beach. I'll find out. Twitter will let me know if we win or not. Put it that way. Like I don't even want to. I'm not even messing up my vacation track. All right, let's rock.
Mm-hmm.
What's good? What's good? What's good? You are tuning in to Apartment 5B podcast hosted by your man Kill Squad. In effect with me today. Always, ladies first. Porsche, what's going on, miss?
Not a whole lot, Kill. So happy to be here today.
No,
Despite the last 24 hours.
Hey, I need happiness in my life right now. Me and Rel need happiness. So, hey, I'm glad to see you guys burn out the ATL. What's going on, good brother?
Man, feeling good. Glad to be here with my folks.
All right, no doubt. I see you got that trombone ready, so I don't know what the hell about to happen. But
no, I was gonna do that to make you laugh, but we good.
Yeah, but keep the laughs coming. Eddie, what's going on, good brother? How are you?
I'm doing good, bro.
All right. Rel, we spoke many times last night. How are you feeling today, brother?
Yo, man, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be alive. I'll put it like that.
Yeah. Sometimes in life you gotta look at them small things. When life gets hard, you gotta be like, you know what? I'm just glad I got hot water. You know what I mean? Like I'm just
my
glad you
daughter's
got a roof
healthy,
over your head.
you know, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes that's what you gotta do in life. JR, the R&B guru, what's going on, good brother?
What's going on? Good to be here with y'all. I'm good.
All right. So I was just saying earlier, man, today is the first day I got nothing. It's like literally this is the first time in the history of 5B, the corner radio, live from the writer's bench. I don't got nothing written down. This is the first time in my life I'm gonna just freestyle the whole episode. This is what we're talking about this week. Artists that were able to stay relevant and make good to great music in different decades. So, of course, if you're an artist from the 70s, you were still popping in the 80s, in the 80s, still popping in the 90s, everything like that. I came to this because I was coming into work and I was listening to some Chaka Khan. And I was like, yo, Ain't Nobody's one of my favorite songs ever. Like, that's one of them songs that we did the show about, a song Always Make You Smile. That song just always, I love Ain't Nobody. And then it just was, you know, through the fire, about to say through the wire. Like Kanye done made it his song there, but through the fire, I'm like, just everything that Chaka was doing. I was like, yo, this is crazy because Shorty has hits, plural, in the 80s, and this is a Shorty from the 70s. And it had me just thinking like there were a lot of 70 artists who weren't able to, come into the 80s and come into a new decade and still continue to be relevant and still continue to make dope music like that. So we're gonna be chopping it up with JR about that. But today we're just looking at different artists from different genres who were able to, stay relevant. And what I mean by relevant is not making KRS making an album last year that nobody's even gonna listen to. I'm talking about you're still relevant. Like people are still checking for you. Not that checking like, oh yeah, I'll listen to it. No, like people are still hyped that you got an album dropping. So that's what we're gonna be talking about today. Porsche, you want to set us off, ladies first?
Sure. My first artist is actually a producer, and it's Pete Rock. Pete Rock has just dropped a mixtape with a mixer. Amir. Sorry, Amir. And I think his at is like 25th hour. Beloved. Anyways, that is one of that. I have not stopped listening to that since it dropped. It is literally and I'll be honest, it took like 2-3 listens before it really stuck, and I cannot literally I spin it every single day. Pete Rock is one of those people who, and I was thinking about why Pete Rock, how he stays relevant, because we've talked a lot on Apartment 5B about how how come nobody's calling on like DJ Premier to do the scratches or do like the whole production like they used to do back in the day, I feel like Pete Rock has kind of still remained relevant. And I think it's because he's just consistent and doesn't try to get into a bag that he's not comfortable or familiar with. Like we're always going to hear the samples. We're always going to hear the horns. We're always going to hear signature Pete sounds, and if you haven't listened to this mixtape, you guys need to listen to it because not only are the bars like unreal, lyrically it's so dope. And then the production, the samples, like everything is just absolutely amazing. So Pete Rock. And I think that Pete Rock does remain relevant, and people do get hype when he drops something because of that reason. So Pete Rock.
All right, now Porsche, your reasoning for that was because he, is still the Pete Rock sound.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have a take on why Pete has been able to stay relevant all these years?
I think I think Pete kind of keeps his ear to the street. You know what I mean? Like he's from the golden era, but he's very much in tune. Like you could tell older artists who really love the current hip hop. Like, the way Pete talks about like Griselda and stuff like that, he glows about them, right? He had the project with Smoke DZA, right? Don't Smoke Rock. He had the project with Skyzoo. So he's working with artists who are relevant now, but he's working with artists who it's a good fit. He's not straying too far out of the lane, right? He's not trying to go with these new age melodic rappers or whatnot. He's kind of going with the new age, or like he's worked with Griselda as well. Like he's working with those guys that are relevant, but his sound fits. And he's kind of adjusted here and there, right? He's done a few drumless. I think he had the one on the Smoke DZA album, Hold the Drums, that I loved. I love that. It was I want to say it was featuring Royce. So like he does get out, but he stays in his bag as well.
All right. Anybody else take on how Pete's been able to do it?
Pete is like a really good, consistent restaurant or hotel. Like every time you go to, I don't know, Papa Do's, you know what you're gonna get. It ain't gonna be 5-star, but it ain't gonna be 3-star. It's gonna be right there. It's always gonna be good. It's always gonna be quality, and that's what Pete is. I mean, and again, like both of y'all said, he doesn't stray far from where his bag is, but he just continues to give quality bags in his bag.
Right. I think one of the things for Pete is to me, and for my ears, I can't really even hear Pete Rock anymore, and I think that's like the best thing. Like if somebody just played me this Amir track, like I probably wouldn't be like, oh, that sounds like a Pete Rock beat. It's just a dope beat. You know what I mean? I think for me, that's where like whereas Primo, you like to this day, I hear 4 seconds into the track, I know it's Premier. And it's like to me, like that was cool in '95. It's 2021. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of the things that Primo really hasn't been able to adapt his sound, which is why you have people only calling on him for scratches.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because it's just like, we really don't want the beat because, you know what I mean? And I know we ain't supposed to say it. It's no disrespect to Cream. He's like my 1A to 1B with Dilla to being the dopest producer ever, but I got to call it like I see it. I haven't been excited about a premiere track or album probably since Prime. And really, I was more excited about Prime because of the samples that he was using, Adrian Young. Like, you really can't fuck up Adrian Young samples. Like, you could just loop Adrian Young samples and they're dope. So, I think for Pete, I don't hear it anymore. Like, this stuff on this Amir mixtape was crazy. Flea Lord was a year ago. Those beats on Flea Lord were crazy. Yep. Like, like Eddie said, he's worked with Skyzoo. Retropolitan was 5 mics to me. I still play that on the regular. So, I think just when you're able to still do things like that, I think it's dope. And this thing with Amir, I'm shocked it took so long because I always like, why don't Pete or Primo and these dudes buck wild find a young, hungry MC? Like, y'all in New York City, like, go to some of these hip hop clubs and find the next ill spitter and produce for them.
I was just going to say, like, Pete also works with very high caliber MCs. He's not just getting, like Eddie said, and yourself, like, he's not just getting anybody who charts or who's dope to like the mainstream, he's actually working with people who are delivering at a high, like, level of lyricism or, verses and bar work. I think it's a testament to his brand. I mean, we've talked about it in past episodes. Like, Pete Rock is a brand at the end of the day, and he needs to uphold that brand as being something very high, quality and stuff. So, Pete Rock.
Right. I mean,
I can talk about Pete forever.
Pete over the years has definitely moved to my number 3 spot. I think he was 4 or 5, just based off the fact that, like, yo, the Creator came out when I was in 11th grade. Yo, I'm 47.
Yeah.
Like, yo, that's 16 to 47, and I'm still hyped. Like, the second I saw that Amir joint, it was like, right away, let me download it. It wasn't like, I'll get to it later. Like, yo, new Pete Rock, boom, I'm there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the fact that you can say that about an artist 30 years later, like, that's enough said right there. Again, I'm going off the top, so I'm over here looking at CDs. I guess I'm gonna start with we can start with LL. We can start with LL.
Well,
that was one of mine.
Mine too. So let me go that one out. Yeah.
We could just all piggyback on this. I mean, L84 again. I like saying the ages because sometimes you really don't get caught up in the years. L drops in 84, 85. I'm in 5th grade. That means I'm like 12. Yo, L was still relevant when I was at Morgan in 95. You know, so to go from what I'm 10 or 11 to now I'm like 21, like 10, 11 years in hip hop, like going through that. I mean, you know, to me, this is 5 mic. I'm not mad at nobody who gives bad 5 mics, but I think the reason why he was able to stay relevant into the 90s was because of the producers. You know what I mean? Like, L is kind of like, after this, it kind of was like every other album because he dropped the Walking with a Panther, that was you know what I mean? Too many fake I Need Love songs for me, but it had Jingling Babies, then Marley remixed it, that connected those two, and then that's when you got, to me, this 5 mic classic, Mama Said Knock You Out. You know what I mean? I don't know how anybody can't like this album. It's literally the perfect way to give something for everybody. Like, Around the Way Girl was the radio song without being some corny radio song. You know what I mean? Booming System for the cars at that time. I mean, Murdergram, if you wanted to spit, Eat 'em Up, L. I mean, everything is on this album. But then, of course, you got 14 Shots to the Dome, which was, again, another dud. And my young boy was asking me, he was like, well, look, OG, if L got with Marley on this, like, what happened on the next joint? And in my opinion, you got a hungry LL and a hungry Marley Marl to make this album. And sometimes when that hunger, that focus, that's when you make dope music. Because Marley was coming out of the Juice Crew. You know what I mean? Most of them had moved on. L was kind of dead in the water, so they cooked this up. And then you take out 14 Shots to the Dome. And again, it's the same thing in Mr. Smith in 95. You got with the Trackmasters, who were the dopest producers at the time, which we're going to talk about with JR, because I want to know more about artists coming from the 70s to the 80s. And did they have those go-to producers? Because in hip-hop, it kind of was like, oh, you need a hit? Just go to Pharrell. Just go to Timbaland. Just go to, you know, you had a list of people who you could go to get that hit. So I got L. Rel, you said you had LL too. What you got on L?
I mean,
or why do you think he was able to stay relevant throughout the years?
I think he was able to have something for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you was doing the years, it's kind of crazy because 84, I was a baby. You know what I'm saying? And then to think about, like, when Love You Better came out, and that was like a real popping song. Like, how old I was when that came out. I think I was in college. You know what I'm saying? So it's like one thing you could say about him, he was the king of the bounce back. Whenever it's an album and it gets bad reviews and he always come back with something crazy. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think the GOAT album is slept on. Like, it's some good stuff on there. And when look at the year that came out, you know what I'm saying? And then he had Ill Bomb on there. Like, that wasn't dated. It wasn't dated or anything, you know what I'm saying? So I just feel like, you know, he's like, when you sent me this topic, like, because I'm not prepared either, but that was a person I don't think
any Sixers fan is prepared right now for anything.
I bet you Vern got notes, pictures.
Vern gonna be like, yo, let me share the screen. I got a PowerPoint right here.
So yeah, but that was the first name that came to my mind was LL. He's like the spokesperson for longevity in hip hop to me. So.
Right. What about you, Vern? I know you had L too.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. I think a lot of it had to do, L is arrogant, and if you think about every collab he did, he's like, "You're not gonna get me out of here on my track," and that serves him well in remaining relevant. It's like, okay, y'all, I heard y'all clowning me on that big LA, so I'm gonna come and give you something to talk about. So yeah, I think that's one of the reasons.
Yeah, no doubt. And a good point with that is, I mean, and again, we talked about this kind of with Heavy D. It's like L never ducked rap. Like he never was like, all right, let me 4, 3, 2, 1. It wasn't like, oh damn, it's Redman, Method Man, like DM. It's like, nah, let's go. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't like, oh damn, it's more Cannabis, trying to. It's like, let's go. So I think that's a great point that you bring up. Sometimes arrogance does that. You know what I mean? Like it makes you be dope or burn. Who you got up for yours?
I'm gonna go with Busta Rhymes, man.
Okay.
Let me see. I can't even read my own writing. A future without a
spreadsheet. You want me to share the screen? Spreadsheet.
A future without a past was 90-91. Time. Those are two LONS albums. Then he came out with his solo joints. Disaster Strikes. Genesis, Extension Level 2, and then he put one out in 20. And then I'll tell you one of my favorite things is his collab with Q-Tip, the Dragon joint.
That's my joint.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, and the dopest verse on that last Tribe album, that nigga Busta Rhymes went crazy. Like, man, I'm glad my crew is back. They just got out of prison, and he just lost his mind on that track. So Busta always adapts without changing who he is, and I think that's one of the keys to his longevity.
Right. Yep. I think another thing with Bus is that he's just that dope. You know what I mean? Like there's no awesome goals. Like there's no father to his style. Like this dude can rap super fast. He can rap super slow. He can, like you said, the album he put out last year would have been close to 4 mics to me if we could have shaved off 10 songs.
Yeah.
And then the deluxe version with another 28 songs on it. But you know what I mean? Like to me, nothing was whack on the album.
Right.
Like it's not like, oh man, he need to give it up. Like nah, like Busta is still Bust, but I think he just has that versatility. He's kind of like, he's a KD. This dude got a handle. He could shoot. He could post you. He could do everything.
He can get on the track with Janet Jackson, with Chris Brown. I mean, and just go stupid.
Right. Yeah. You literally can put him in any position, and he's gonna, be great at that. Were you gonna say, Eddie?
Yeah, I think he's great at selecting production, like the producers that he's worked with, like in his first 3, 4, 5 album run. He worked with Dilla and Knots and all these great producers that kind of help him craft his sound. And then when he's kind of straight out, he went with Dre, so that kind of opened him up to a whole other fan base, right? And like y'all said, worked with Janet and Mariah. He worked with that. He had his whole feature run that exposed him to other fans, kind of jumping on like the Chris Brown joint, the Worldwide Choppers, when he kind of went off, with his flow on that. But then, he always brings it back to his own stuff. And, he might have his commercial joints, but he always has stuff for the heads.
And on commercial joints, be banging. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Touch It. I mean, anything. I mean, like, that's what I was going to say. I don't know if I've ever really been mad at a Busta song. Like, yo, you don't went too far left. I wasn't a big fan of the joint with him and Khalees, that You My B or whatever song.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Other than that, but if you talking about almost a 25-year career, you're going to have some stuff that ain't hit. But for the most part, I think, you can't miss with Bust. JR, who you got for some of yours? Who's your first one up?
Well, since you threw producers in there, I'm gonna throw in Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. I'm gonna throw them. They still relevant to this day. Like, what I'm saying? They rocking with her right now. So it's like she, what I mean? Like they've made it from 83 on 82 to now. So they just know how to give an artist their own sound instead of giving them somebody else's. So when you hear them with somebody, they don't sound like this. You know what I mean? Like they were doing that in the 80s when they was working with everybody. Nobody sounded the same. Yep. Same thing in the 90s. They was working with so many artists. nobody sounds the same. So they still got their foot on the industry, being in this industry for over almost 40 years.
Hey man,
They
we need
still-
that documentary, bro. We got to get them while they still alive, man.
Yes, we do. Like, we really need a doc for them. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, I think the thing is just like you said, JR. Again, it goes back to kind of like the Pete thing. Like, to me, there's no sound. Like when I hear Yolanda Adams, I don't hear Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. When I heard the Usher joint, what was the joint? Not You Got Me. I forgot which joint they did for Usher. The
Where he's
Yeah,
all
you know
over
the joint.
Confessions. He's
That Mary
all
J.
over-
Blige.
oh yeah, even the joint on Confessions, the Bad Girl joint. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's bonkers, you know. So again, and when I hear that, I don't go, "Oh, that's Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis." It's like I'm usually shocked to read, like, "Oh, damn, Jam and Lewis did this."
Yeah.
Like, so I think it's really hard for an artist or a producer who just has one sound that you just hear throughout. You know, even Pharrell had to change a little bit. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
for a while
I mean,
you just knew it was the Neptunes beat. You know, and to me that gets stale after a while. Like that's cool in the beginning. But then after a while, it's like, all right, you know, so yeah, I definitely Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis,
Teddy
incredible.
Riley. Yeah.
Yeah, Teddy. Ralph, what you got up?
I got Scarface.
Face.
I got Face because that first Ghetto Boys John came out in like '88, and then '89 the next one. And if you look, like his last album that people thought was people say was a classic is The Fix, and that's 2002.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's a long time, man. And
Yeah.
and with this one, I can't even really explain it. He just dope, man. Like I can't really explain it. Like this one of them, I can't put together. Like, did he change with the times? Did he do? I can't really figure it out. Is that he just put out dope?
He
music.
raps through his growth. As a
That's a good question. That's good. That's
Yeah,
good.
I just feel like he kind of caters to every stage of someone's life. Like if you started out with Face from the beginning, you kind of grow with him as he grows because you know, like things that you're kind of dealing with at the time are relevant to you, and as you're changing, Face's lyrics and albums are also changing. So he's growing, you're growing, and then he always stays sort of with you. It's one of those really weird. Not very many MCs can do this. Not even the best MCs can do this. I don't even think Big could do that, to be honest. But Face does it and does it very well, in my opinion.
You know, it's that you say that, Porsche. You got to think about like cats like him, Hev, even Buster. Well, not Buster, but like the everyman type hip, like Fonte. So Buster, Heavy, Buster, and Face, they're not. You know, with these all these pyrotechnics and stuff, they can rap with the best rapper, but they just kind of talking to us. It's like a conversational type thing, and that's why it doesn't get stale.
Yo, you know what I could tell? I could tell neither one of you guys are Sixers fans because y'all brains are still working. Like Porsche, like Porsche, I see nothing. Yeah, like, you can see Rel like, hold tight. You literally saw Rel like, I can't explain it. And then Porsche pops in, and Vern pop. Damn Hawks fan got a dissertation on Face. Like you can just sit here and tell who a Sixers fan and who's not because y'all brains work right now. Y'all brains work. I got nothing for y'all tonight.
Y'all did that one because I couldn't put it into words, but how y'all explained it is perfect.
Don't worry, Rel. I got you. I got you through this.
You have to get everybody. And then I think too, the other thing with Face is because he's nice, so many of the younger artists respect him. You know what I mean? So it's like they want to get at him, like Jay getting at him, or like the fact that you got Jay and Beans and Face on Guess Who's Back, and Face killed that shit. Like, yo, you dealing with two of the dopest rappers right now, and a boy from '88 is right there neck and neck with both of them and killed this verse. So I think it's everything that Vern and Porsche said, plus the fact that these younger MCs respect Face. So, you know, they definitely want to get at him and get his stuff on. Eddie, what you got, man?
All right. I got a few ways I could go, but I'm gonna go with Pharoah Monch. You know, we talk
Right.
about him all the time on this show, but you know, I mean, this is a good opportunity to give him his flowers because I mean, he started the early '90s with Organized Confusion.
Oh, it's cool.
You know what I mean? Like three albums, you know, creative, you know, incredibly creative, conceptual, you know, lyrics. I mean, I feel like both Pharrell and Prince Paul were ahead of their time back then, you know, then coming out with Simon Says, and that album Internal Affairs, like with everything that happened with Pharrell, with that album and that sample and the lawsuit and whatever, like he could have really fell into that, you know, one hit, even though he wasn't a one hit wonder, but for the general hip hop audience, right? They know him for Simon Says, but then him coming back with all his albums since then, you know, after he bounced back, I think 2006 was Desire, and like he's still with them concepts. You know, his pen is crazy. He could still spit. You know, he's never really given you the same album. I mean, it's just so creative, and I think that's what's really keeping him. And yeah, like Kill always calls him the Sade of hip hop because he ain't giving you an album every year, but when he does, it's very well thought out. You know, he's giving you something that, you know, it's going to get replay value. So that's what I definitely appreciate. Even his last album with the 13, I know that one probably wasn't for everyone, but even that one was very conceptual. You know what I mean? All the songs were thought out. It all had a theme. So it was still dope. Yeah, he's still at it, man.
And I think the thing with Pharrell is, again, I think with some of them, we may find at the end of this, it's just about the cream rises to the top. Like the dopest people are going to be the ones who find a way and whose talent takes them above, like being caught in a style, like kind of how Diggable got caught with that jazz fusion and they couldn't get out of that. You know what I mean? And, you know, being able to fit in with the sound and one of the people I'm about to bring up, we'll talk about that. But Porsche, you got up for your next one.
I'm going to go with Master Ace. I love Ace. I talk about him as often as I can, whenever I can. Again, he started out I think it was 88 on the Symphony. We heard him. And then fast forward to one of his best concept albums that everybody's always mentioning was in 2001 with Disposable Arts. And then again, Master Ace is one of those people who I think executes concept albums perfectly, utilizes skits and interludes perfectly. And then fast forward again from 2001 now to 2016 with The Falling Season, which is another concept album. Like the guy just, again, knows what he's good at. He I don't want to say he'll change it up so much because we did hear a little bit of like, you know, that kind of concept with Disposable Arts in a way on the tail end of the album, but he knows concepts and he executes them very, very well. And I think that he also raps at a very high caliber. His flow is dope. The delivery, it's always like a pleasure to listen to him. You know, just, it's not hard on your ears. You know what I mean? Like there's some people who you just don't want to keep going. Master Ace is not one of them. His delivery is pretty dope. So yeah, Master Ace. I think he keeps himself relevant that way.
So I got a question because I got nothing here. I love Ace, and there's no disrespect to Ace, but I can't put my finger on, is it the concept album? Like, is that his thing? Because I'll give you an example. And people totally don't even remember or really know that he still makes music like that, but Ed O.G. Ed O.G. to me is an incredible MC, very dope. I would say somehow maybe on the same tier as a Master Ace.
Okay.
But Ed O.G. isn't able to, his name isn't talked about like Ace's is. You know what I mean? So what do you guys think that is? Because I mean, again, there's no knock to Ace, very dope MC, but I just don't know how he's been able to continue to stay relevant for all these years. And like then somebody like Edo G, like I wouldn't put Ace on the same level. Like we've said, Busta, LL, Scarface, Pharoah Monch. I personally don't have Ace on that tier of MC. So with those MCs that we've named, it's kind of like how I just said, it feels like cream rises to the top. Master Ace being like a tier down, how does he do it?
I don't think he's a tier down, personally.
Okay.
I don't at all. I think he's right up there. Maybe not with LL. I mean that's like.
I mean, what I mean by like
LL
tier,
is
like
very.
Like
very
when I look at
caliber.
Pharoah Monch, I look at him as like he's literally one of my top 10 MCs.
Right.
Like Pharoah Monch. So
Yes.
I just don't have Ace probably in my top 20. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So that's what I mean. Like for me, he's not on the same tier because Ace doesn't crack my top 20. LL, Pharoah does.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at it. Face doesn't, but I know a lot of people have Face in their top 5. I just don't know anybody who's ever mentioned Master Ace in their top 15. So that's why I'm just like, when I say tier, again, I'm not being disrespectful.
Well, I really do think that it's the concept albums. I think that that's Master Ace's expertise. I think that he executes concept albums very well. It's sequenced. It's always sequenced well. It's cohesive. And I think that it takes you sort of on a journey, a personal journey. And it's always very, he personalizes it. And I think that it's relatable. So people like that. And I think he does that very well. Again, Master Ace is one of the only MCs that I can think of off the top of my head that can actually put skits in his albums and you don't want to remove them. You know what I mean? Like I can tell you Capital Punishment, I want to take out 11 skits that Pun put on there because they don't do anything for the album. If you listen to Capital Punishment and you skip all the skits and interludes, you're not missing the album. But if you skip on Disposable Arts, if you skip one of Master Ace's skits,
it's like it's like missing a scene in a movie.
It's like missing a scene in a movie. Right. Exactly. Right. And so for me, like that puts him on the same tier as the MCs you mentioned, not in the same way, maybe not with the pen, maybe not with the lyrical ability or, whatever kind of criteria, but in his own way, I think he kind of shows that he can kind of rock with them, Right.
And again, anybody watching, this is no knock on Ace. This is one of my favorite hip hop albums ever. His debut album. Take a look around. Like I said, just for me, it was like I'm interested because I'm glad. And keep in mind, I'm glad he's still around. Like I'm glad. I'm not like, yo, Kill, why you hate? No, I'm glad he's still around. I'm just trying to figure out how he was able to do it. And like an Edo G, other MCs of that same caliber haven't been able to do it.
Master Ace is like Byron Scott or Michael Cooper on the Showtime Lakers. You had Kareem, Magic, Worthy, that tier. But he was a very intricate. They were.
Where's this going?
No, I'm laughing because Rel has like given up on that. Straight from the bottom.
That's why I'm trying so hard not to laugh. I've been looking at Rel this whole time. I'm not even here, yo.
I'm not okay, guys. I'm really.
I feel you. But you know what, bro? Like, that's what the support group is for. But of course, it'd be an ATLian to want to give a basketball analogy right now. Like any other, you had 50 other things you could have pulled out the sky. He was like, you know what? Let me take it back to the NBA because Michael Cooper. So
I'm so sorry. I just looked and Rel is like, I don't know. I just remembered Mo from The Simpsons, and I was like,
that's a good analogy.
Sorry.
Well, Vern, I'm gonna just fast forward to where you want to go, and I get it. Very good point, Porsche. I do think is that. And again, for people watching, again, I think it's dope. I think it's dope that Ace found his fitting to be able to still be around 20 years later. Like that's a gift right there. The next person I'm gonna go with is Gang Starr. Because when Gang Starr dropped, when I saw the video for Words I Manifest, I was in the 8th grade. I was 13, 14. And the Owners came out in 2003. I done graduated college. I done got married. Like, you know what I mean? To go from 13 to now I'm 27, like, and throughout that whole time stayed relevant and didn't get caught in the whole jazz fusion. Because people forget about Gang Starr. People always give that to Tribe, that they were the first one to sample jazz. Night in Tunisia was Dizzy Gillespie, and that was Words I Manifest in 87, 88. So truth be told, it was Gang Starr that really started the whole jazz phenomenon of sampling jazz. I mean, they had Jazz Thing on the joint. They had forgot the name of the joint that was on the Mo Better Blues soundtrack that they did with Branford Marsalis, but they were right there at that core of that jazz fusion. But they were able to snap right out of it with Hard to Earn. You know what I mean? Like, before they could get tagged with that label, like Indigo Planets and other groups like that. And I mean, I think they just did it. I mean, fuck, you got Premier. You got one of the dopest producers of all time at the helm. You know what I mean? That's able to give you different sounds and different stuff and, you know, everything like that. Guru, I think, is a 3.5 to 4 mic MC. I know people don't really, you know, don't see Guru like that. I used to be one of those people, but I mean, I can't ever say like a Gang Starr, like I can never say Guru came whack in all those years. You know what I mean? And when you really look back, I mean, if you want, yeah, we could talk about the Premier beats, but I mean, yo, work, you know, Above the Clouds, like everything that Premier was throwing at him, he was hitting it right out the park. So I mean, was he, like Vern would say, lyrical miracle with the pyrotechnics and all? Nah, not at all. But nobody ever was like, yo, Guru was whack. You know, I've never heard that out of any, even on Twitter, where it's the 8th planet of the solar system. I've never heard somebody except Yao.
Yeah,
say,
I was just gonna say, are we gonna pretend Yao? It's in.
Yeah, I can't remember. Did Yao say Guru was whack? I can't remember.
Well, he
you
said
know
that
what I
he
mean?
could name 150 MCs better.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, you might say, yeah, he said he's whack. So outside of Yao,
Yeah, he
I don't
named like
know
75 MCs better than Guru or something crazy.
Yeah. So again, outside of Yao, I don't know anybody who's just like Guru was whack. I mean, this man's rap with MOP. When we just look at all the features that Gang Starr has had over the years, I mean, again, maybe the other people were better than him, but he wasn't blown out the water. So, yeah, I think Gang Starr. And I think another reason why they lasted so long is because they were like an open relationship almost. Like they gave each other their space. Like it was like, yo, go do your Jazzmatazz shit.
Right.
You know, while you doing that, I'm going to be over here producing for all these people over here. And then we'll get back together and do us. And then you'll go do Jazzmatazz too. And I think that was good because it was the opposite of a Pete and CL situation where Pete is over here doing everything and CL just chilling. You know what I mean? So I think that was one of the reasons too that they were able to stay together all the years that they did stay together. So yeah, I got Gang Starr. Vern, who you got up for your next joint?
I'm gonna go with Big Boy.
Okay.
94 Southern Playalistic. You know, ATL and Quimini, Stack Only, Speak About Love Below, Idlewild. You know, all the way 2010, Sir Lucius Left Foot. You know,
which is a 5 mic album to me. I know I'm by myself.
5 mic.
I know it's me and Porsche.
Yes,
but Sir Lucius, 5 mics to me.
I like Boomiverse too. I love that one.
Yeah, I love it too. It's just not 5 mics to me. It's like probably 4 and change.
Yes.
Yeah.
Purple Ribbon 2013 to Boomiverse 2017, from 94 to 2017. And if Big is featured on the verse, he ain't coming whack. I mean,
and I'm still waiting for this album he's supposed to drop with Sleepy. Like, and I'm still hyped for that. Like, it's not like I would. No, I'm like, bro, you said this album. Like, I'm like checking the timeline. Like, yo, wasn't it supposed to drop last year? And so, yeah, Big is still to me relevant in 2021.
He fixed up the dungeon and he's doing it on Airbnb. I'm gonna go by there and see what it looks like.
Yo, you said the dungeon is an Airbnb?
He announced that today.
Yeah, he did. You ain't see that? Yeah.
Here's the thing, y'all. I haven't seen much today. Okay,
yeah, right.
We got to remember what happened last night.
You're right.
Last night, you know what? A child psychologist told me. He said, "Kill, for a lot of these kids who were in 8th grade or in 12th grade, like, you know, going to college or going to 9th grade with the pandemic, you have to treat them losing things like their mourning. You know what I mean? And that kind of made sense to. No, I'm dead ass. This is dead ass. Like, he was like, it's like a mourning situation. Because there was times when like Naomi was down, and I'm like, yo, like in my homegirls, they're like, yo. And she was like, you gotta understand, she didn't get an 8th grade dance. She didn't get an 8th grade graduation. She didn't get a chance to go to her new high school. Like, you have to look at those depression moments as like they're in mourning. I say all that to say that even though the series isn't over, we're in mourning over here. So, you know, I haven't seen Big Boy. I haven't seen anybody's tweets today. I haven't seen anything because I'm in a little bit of mourning right now. So, you know, that's why I need y'all to pick me up. Rel, I think, is even more fucked up than I am. You know what I mean? So
you drinking out the bottle. It's real.
like, yo.
Oh,
So, you know me, I try to mix comedy with something serious. So for parents out there who's watching, yo, if your kids were in any of those situations, and even if they weren't, yo, this whole year of pandemic was rough. You know what I mean? It's like 14 months in the crib. It's blessed that we had FaceTime and Zoom, but at the end of the day, some of our kids are in mourning. Don't snap at them because they depressed. Hell, we depressed. So, you know, let's just, you know, but that's where we're at. So no, I didn't see that, but that's dope. So he's turning the dungeon into an Airbnb.
Mhm.
That's dope. That's dope. That would definitely be where I want to stay if I come to Atlanta.
Yeah, no kidding.
right.
Can I use the studio equipment too, or is just I just get to sleep there? All right. I want to make a beat in the dungeon. So yeah, and I think with Big Boy too, I think again, just a dope MC. And almost similar to what Porsche was saying with Face, what I always loved about Outkast was you grew with them. You know what I mean? Like, which is why they lost a lot of fans along the way, because a lot of fans just still wanted that, oh, they ain't stealing cars, this ain't Benzo or Beamer no more, or this ain't, you know, this. But I felt like every time they made a new album, they gained new fans.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So you kind of either grew with them or they got fans of the stage of where they were at in their walk. So I think it's just like with Face. And I think anybody who's really, like I said, I think 3000 is better than Big Boy. If I come to Atlanta, do I want to hang out with Big Boy or Andre? I want to hang out with Big Boy. Like, you know, that's always been my personality. And there's no knock to anybody who wants to hang out with Dre, but Big Boy just speaks my language. You know what I mean? So, you know, I think that's another reason why he's been able to, you know, stay relevant. And then he just doesn't ever come whack. You know what I mean? He just doesn't.
Yep.
You know, all right, JR, who you got up next?
I love that you did it. So mine is more the producers because those are the ones you should focus for anyway. Mine is Raphael Sadiq.
JR, I see you got me for the first time because I started to do him first.
Oh no!
you know, JR on the show. You better come with the R&B.
Yeah.
You better just come out with the Big Joker first, because you know.
I didn't know.
You good? You
Raphael first. That's why I was like, oh,
yeah.
damn. But yeah, Raphael been since 1988.
Yes,
so,
sir.
And he's still relevant now. Like, I mean, what I like about Rafi, because he's number 3 for me as far as producers of all time, for real. It's like he brings a soul to the song, or whatever artist he's working with. It doesn't matter. He brings a soul to it, but it's still current. Like when he worked with Lucky Day and Jasmine Sullivan for the Insecure joint. It has a soul to it, but it's still current. You know what I'm saying? When he worked with Bryson Tiller, who I'm not a fan of at all, but he worked with him and it worked. You know what I mean? Just Raphael's just, and he has his, he's just everywhere. Like he's working still. He works with John Legend that gave him some type of soul, because John Legend's soul has been gone for a while. So long. It's dry and bland, and I'm not here for John at all since
a cruise ship singer.
Yes, he is. That's who it's for real. For real. He's whack, yo. Like for real. So Raphael did like a Christmas album with him, and it was like, wow, now I'm feeling like what we got when Gift Lifted. Because John completely left that. You know what I'm saying? So then of course he did with Solange with Seat at the Table. Like that brilliant there. So it's just like Raphael's just the dude, you know what I mean? And he just continues to prove why he's just great. Why people want him to work on their films and their stuff like that. So he's been rocking for like 30 years. So
crazy.
Yeah. And again, to me, Sadiq is he's one of the dopest ever. So when you're one of the dopest ever, you know, your name rings out. He was able to, I think what also helped him was being able to kind of get into those hip hop mixes too. You know what I mean? With the, you know, Lucy Pearl, you know, and being able to rock with Tribe, and, you know, being able to poke his head and kind of, the Roots, kind of being able to poke his head in different places.
With the Soul Aquarians and all that.
Which enabled him to, you know, be able to drop an album kind of like Foul March every 5 to 6 years, you know, because he's not gonna come out with an album every year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this joint right here that a lot of people didn't like, which I love Jimmy Lee. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people didn't like that. You ain't like that, JR?
No.
It was kind of rough.
I feel you. I mean, it's one of them things where I'm never that person. Like somebody was saying something on the timeline the other day. They were talking about an artist. And he was like, you know, I love him, but I can understand why people don't. So I totally get why people don't like Jimmy Lee. You know what I mean? Like totally get it. You know, but I love it. I was listening to it like the other week, like all week. Like
I only like So Ready, and that's it.
I feel you.
I think that was a therapy album, man. That was his way of getting some stuff out about his brother and stuff like that. So,
right. And that's why I don't knock it like that, but it's like,
yeah. But I think it's too, sometimes he is like a 3000 where he's an artist. You know what I mean? So if you like my homeboy came into that album expecting, I don't know, instant vintage, and if that's what you expecting, well, yeah, I can see why you didn't like it. You know what I mean? So same way with what's this joint? Black Messiah. Same way with this. I know Vern, I don't think you like this joint. Import. Whereas I love the album.
Oh, I love it.
I just couldn't understand what he was saying. A lot of it. I like it more now. I revisit it more, you know.
Right.
A lot of people said that too, that they had to revisit it to get it.
But I think even with that, like I said, I totally get why people don't like it. Because if you same thing with Voodoo. If you gave him the Voodoo One Brown Sugar, you was gonna be disappointed. I know a lot of people who don't like Voodoo. And if you came in a Black Messiah expecting Voodoo, you was gonna be disappointed. So, you know, I totally get when people, you know, don't like stuff like that. But yeah, I just think Sadiq can just do it all. He could do the 60s soul, really do it. You know what I mean? When Candyman was trying to do it, he was trying to do it on keyboards and stuff like that versus Sadiq, who's really gonna get the vintage equipment and he's really gonna go about the right way. You know what I mean? So and if you've never seen him in show, incredible performance. You know what I mean? Always kills it. Rel, who you got up next, man?
Person I got let me get myself together. All right, so the person I got has passed, but I got Heavy D.
Okay.
Nice.
And you know, Heavy D 87 was the first drum, and you know, consistent. And then I think the thing is, like, you got to factor in that he started producing, and even more than producing, like influencing acts. Like, you know, when Soul for Real came out, like that was, you know, his stuff. You had the remixes, and then I'm listening to I remember a rapper named McGruff came out, and I'm listening to the album, and I'm like, Heavy D and Tony Dofat all over this album, you know what I'm saying? And just it was other songs that you would hear and you didn't even know they were produced by Heavy D, you know what I'm saying? Wow. And then I don't know about other people, I liked the reggae album that he did. So, you know, he was able to just keep going, even if, you know, as a rapper, maybe people at a certain point wasn't checking for him, you know what I'm saying? He was still producing, acting. He was still had his hands in just everything. He was still, you know, relevant in some way, shape, or form within the culture. So I think that was a testament of, again, the dopest people find a way. And he's one of the dopest on so many different levels when it comes to hip hop. So my person was Heavy D.
Yeah, he did that joint with Nas, right? He produced.
Yeah, Life is Good. The Dawn.
Life is Good. Yeah.
I think the other thing too we have is that even through all the phases of, you know, because now we're talking post Straight Outta Compton with gangster rap and everybody getting harder. I just don't know anybody who didn't like Hev. Right. You know, I remember being at Morgan my freshman year in '92 and people listening to Nothing But Love. You know, and then when Blue Funk came out, like, I don't know anybody who ever just said, like, I know people like, man, Kill, I don't know about you people, Outkast, man, 3,000 bugging, he went with. Like, I don't know anybody who ever gave up on him. You know what I mean? Even if it was, you know, because there were still bangers on Blue Funk. Like, I mean, you know, there's bangers on Nothing But Love. You know, Spend a Little Time on Top was crazy. Like, there's still Got Me Waiting is one of my favorite Pete Rock beats. You know what I mean? So I think that's the other thing with Hev that people don't give him enough credit for is he was still able to be him during a time when you had to be thugged out to stay relevant. And Hev It's like Tip said, just have what you say, bum diddly D is a favor of my mama. Like, who didn't like Heavy D? Like, I feel like I don't use the word hating a lot, but I feel like if you didn't like Heavy D, you was just hating. Like, I don't know if you just ain't like light skinned fat people. It was, but you had to be hating to not rock with Heavy D. Like,
and then he can give you can't see what I can't see, and that was hard. Like, that was,
right.
The joint he did with Tretch, Ready for Them.
See, that was, you know what I mean? It's like he was able to go in that lane. You know what I'm saying?
The joint he did with Dilla with Tip with Listen, produced by Dilla off the I forgot the name of the album, but that was crazy. And I mean, again, we did this on the Heavy D
he had the
show.
young the young Notorious B.I.G. on his joint.
Yep,
a bunch of niggas. I kick drama like you spit on my mama.
But I think the thing is too, like we said, he basically was big before big because Heavy was going to give you. But again, I don't even feel like even when I heard Now That We Found Love, I wasn't like, oh, this is whack. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, yo, this kind of dope. Like, you know what I mean? But he'd give you a Now That We Found Love or Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream. But then, like Rel said, you can't see what I can see. Or you want to give you Who's the Man off the Who's the Man soundtrack. That was hard too. So Truth Ball for Blue Funk.
Just song Peaceful Journey. Like, did you hear the lyrics to that? That's
come on.
Now.
Oh yeah.
Don't do it, y'all.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So Heavy is definitely one. Eddie, who you got?
All right. I'm going with someone else who is no longer with us. Rest in peace. Sean Price, aka Sean P, the brokest rapper I mean, starting off with Helter Skelter in the 90s, Boot Camp Click, all that, you know what I mean? I know, to me, I love Smith and Wesson. I feel like Smith and Wesson had the better album as a duo, but to me, Rock and Ruck were the doper duo as far as rhymers, as far as like straight skills, so, Sean Price, whether he was Sean Price or Ruck, he was always dope. But I feel like when he made that switch, to his Sean P persona, like he just went next level, like just with, the persona, his sense of humor, his rhyme patterns. Like he didn't sound like no one else. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's something that a few artists from the 80s and 90s carried with them, you know what I mean? Like they didn't want to sound like no one else. They didn't want to copy what was popular, you know what I mean? They created their own lane. I feel like that's exactly what he did.
You couldn't back then. Like that was whack back then, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Sean Price created his own lane. He was basically became the people's champion. And up until his untimely passing, like that Imperious Rex, I believe that was completed before he passed, but that album was dope to me. That's 4 to 4.5 mics for me. And then he did very, very dope.
Random Acts with Guilty and Black Milk. That album, I just spun it. Oh my God, it's amazing. Amazing album.
Yeah. I mean, I think with P, it's like kind of like with Ghostface. Nobody had him pegged as the person who would be, if, like I said, if you would have told somebody in 94 Ruck is going to be the person who's going to be holding down the Boot Camp Click, niggas would have been like, yo, who's your weed man? I need to get with him. Same thing. If anybody would have told you Ghostface was going to be the one holding down the Woo, cats would have went through RZA, Jizza, Meth, right, before you even got to go. So, I think, like Eddie said, reinvent himself. But, I mean, that Broke His Rapper Alive thing, that shit just stood out to me. Like, I remember my man Lunchbox told me about it. I was like, he the brokest rapper alive. And at that time, that's when everybody was flossing. So it's like, it kind of intrigued me. Like, yo, let me hear this. And it's like you said, just his style. Like, I love smoking Nick. What you say? Something about Nick at night. Go home, watch Nick. And, so like you said, he had his own style. And
he was funny, man.
He was funny. He made fun of himself. He made fun. Like, he was just a funny dude. And he was just one of them rappers that could just rap over anything. Like, it don't matter what you give him. He's going to kill it. What you going to say, Vern?
Vague kind of remind me of him in this sense. Like, Vague is a serious cat, but he's funny as a mug, man. And like like Shine would like he's self-deprecating and make you laugh, but you know he also get you up out the box too. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It was that thing. So
Yeah. No doubt, no doubt. Sean P was definitely one of the illest, and I was always hyped for a new Sean P album. Like there was never, I'll check it when it comes. No, it was like, yo, P dropping something new, bet I'm on it. And he was one of the few MCs who I didn't care who produced it. Like I didn't care, it don't matter, because P's gonna kill whatever it is. Porsche, what you got next?
My R&B bag. It's little. It's only got one group in it. Boys to Men. I have to mention Boys to Men.
How did we not know Boys to Men were coming?
Right. So 1991, I think we got Cooley High Harmony, and then albums along the way, and then we get like, let's take it to the 2000s. Like, so right at 2000, we get Nathan, Michael, Sean Wanye, which is a dope album. And then fast forward again at 11 years, they drop 20. And you think like they've lost it, but they don't. JR, like chime in anytime. I feel like in R&B, if Boyz II Men was going to drop an album, all of them, not like two of them or, whatever, I personally would be hella hype about it. And I think the reason for that is that they still, in 2011, with that 20 album, they still make it feel like 90s R&B. And you don't get that with these other R&B people anymore. They're getting high together and that's love, or I don't know, one's like knocked out and the other one's sleeping beside them and apparently that's sex and intimacy. Like I don't know, they like someone bought someone a bottle of vodka.
I don't even know what's going on right now, y'all. What happened? What R&B group sleeping next to each other? What just happened?
I'm just The Weeknd. I don't know.
Okay.
Again, like JR, correct me if I'm wrong, but I just feel like when I listen to R&B, there's like swear words in these melodic tones.
Yeah. You know what?
That's
so
true.
So true.
It's super weird. And Boyz II Men, to me, like in 2011, if you can make me feel like you did when you dropped the 2 album, like I'm just gonna love you forever. And I do. I don't think it gets better than Boyz II Men, and I don't think we'll ever get another group like them. Even New Edition is another. We don't have groups, period. But if Boyz II Men was going to drop an album in 2021 or in 2025, I would still be hype about it because I am confident that they would make it feel like 90s R&B, and I miss that. So.
And when you were saying, they can still, if you go to their concerts, they sound exactly like they did when they first came out, and they've elevated. Nate and Sean play guitar, so they're professional musicians that are at the top of their craft technically.
And I don't think there's a group, even in like the history of groups, and maybe this is a stretch, but that are vocally more talented than Boyz II Men.
Nobody can sing better than Boyz II Men.
This is facts. Like this is just pure facts.
I mean, there might be somebody you like better, but nobody can sing better than them.
Correct. I agree with that.
I love it.
Do you agree, JR?
Yes.
Oh, good. Yes. Okay, good. So that's
me and Vern go in about this all the time.
All the time.
Yes. With y'all.
I'm just, it's Boyz II Men, it's Philly, it's just,
I'm sorry.
No, it's cool. It's cool. Don't worry about it. It's just
Rel takes another swig.
Oh no,
man! I love y'all, man. I love y'all.
Yeah, it's cool, Porsche. I know it wasn't a shot, but it's just like,
no, it wasn't.
Back to Philly.
Y'all helping me so much right now. Y'all don't even know.
Well, good. Hey, seriously. When I text me last night, I was like, man, check on Rel, man.
Yeah, he did. He was like, check on Rel, man.
Yo, man, Vern, you're a real one, man. You're a real one.
Check on Rel, man. Next group I'm going with BDP, KRS-One, Criminal Minded. This 87. The singles was like 86, Bridges Over and everything like that. Five Mike. I mean, I actually think this is the most album I played out of any album of any genre ever, from the vinyl to the tape to the CD. To follow that up with By All Means Necessary, was bananas. A lot of people never even heard this A Man in His Music. It's a lot of outtakes from the albums and everything like that. Different mixes of stuff that made Criminal Minded. And then you fast forward to 94 when he comes back with Return of the Boom Bap. You know what I mean? And then even the KRS-One album, because this was crazy. I mean, Rappers Are in Danger, Wannabe MCs, and to me, again, it's the skill, it's KRS-One, but then it was also, to me, the beats. He got with Premier with this. And I mean, Premier, Showbiz went in on this. You know what I mean? KRS-One attacks Out of Here. I remember hearing Out of Here like, yo, this is crazy. I mean, Black Cop. I mean, Sound of the Police.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
When he's doing the Uh-Oh joint with the beatbox was crazy. I'm a blunt being smoked and I can't wake up. So I think it's just, it was always the talent was there, but then like being able to just grab at a producer like Premier and just get what Premier was given. Which JR, let me ask you this to kind of put a pause in this. I'm gonna remember leaving off with Vern for the next one. So what do you think it was about the artists from the 70s coming into the 80s? Because I know this was a very hard time because the 80s was bringing in what I like to call the plug generation. And what I mean by that is, of course, you need the plug for your amp. But what I mean by the plug generation is synthesizers, samplers, drum machines. Why am I playing this drummer if I can program these drums by myself? So, why do you think, or what was it that, and again, this is why I'm leaning on you because you're the R&B guru. Like, for me, listen, I'm like, okay, Shaka Khan had hits in the 80s, plural. For me, Gladys Knight had Saved Overtime. That's all I remember. Marvin had Sexual Healing. That's all I remember. I know God Bless the Dead, he was murdered and everything like that. But most of the artists coming out of the 70s into the 80s, the Temptations, Treat Them Like a Lady. They had one hit. Like all these greats from the 70s only had one hit. Shaka had multiple hits. Why do you think it was so hard to go from the 70s to the 80s and still make hits, plural, like the way these artists were doing in the 70s?
It was, I feel like in the 70s, you got to realize the disco era came in. So a lot of our artists couldn't get out of that disco era. And then when you got into the 80s, it became very experimental. So there was really nobody that had a really sound. You know what I mean? Everybody, because like I always say, if you listen to Michael's Off the Wall and you listen to Thriller, it's two completely different sounds of albums because you're using a lot of synthesizers on there, and it's the technology is different. So a lot of our artists could not come out of it. That's why people like that was booming in like the 70s. Let's just say I can say like a Cheryl Lynn, right? She was dope, right? At the say 76 to like maybe 81, she was great. But then after that, it's like you couldn't accept her out of that disco era. Thank God for Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis for giving her encore. But after that was it.
That's a classic, John. Right?
Jam and Terry did encore?
Yeah, they did encore.
Man, them dudes, bro, come on.
That don't make no sense.
Them dudes, man.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That don't even sound like a Jam and Terry Lewis
album.
Don't. From that era. Because when I hear Jam and Lewis of that era, I'm thinking the Lynn Drum Machine. I'm thinking SOS Band, stuff like that. I'm not thinking Encore. Wow,
ooh, man, them drums were so hard with the SOS Band.
Yo, I'm telling you, the Lynn Drum Machine, man. I got this slow jam tape I'll send you. It's called 808 and Heartbreaks because it was all slow jams that were made with with a drum machine,
right?
With a drum machine back in it. But yeah, them. Man, please, So yeah, I had no idea about that.
Give me that too. I'm gonna listen to that tonight while I finish.
No doubt. I got you, good brother. I got you.
But yeah, it was just hard for people to kind of.
So they really weren't. So like, because a lot of what we said about LL, what I just said with KRS, they got with this producer who, it was hard to miss with with Premier at that time. Like I remember being at 889. They sent the 12-inch for a group called All City. We was like, yo, who is All City? We didn't know, but we said, yo, Premier did the A side and Pete Rock did the B side. We was like, yo, play that live on air. We ain't even hear it yet. But we was like, yo, Pete and Primo did it. Yo, just play it. So was there not a producer in the 80s that was just go-to like that? That's just like, yo, get Aretha with because to me, Aretha only had that Who Zoom and Who joint. You know what
Well,
I mean?
no,
So again,
because you got to think about it too. Luther brought her back with the what is it called? It was in '82. He brought Aretha back. Luther brought Aretha back with Jump to It.
Oh yeah, yeah,
right,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
right.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that was in '82. So kind of Luther started becoming in the '80s, but it was so you had Leon Silvers in the '80s because he had Shalimar. Then you had Kashif that was coming in.
Kashif,
You know what I'm
yes,
saying?
sir.
So you had Kashif coming in the '80s, but they were kind of like the go-tos for that because it was this new sound that kind of Stevie started in like the '70s using that synthesizer and doing all that. So then you had Kashif kind of come in and it was like, all right, cool. This is post-disco, what they call it. Then it's like, all right, cool. But once '83 came in and Jam and Lewis came in, it was a wrap. Like they were the guys to go to. It was a done deal. And then once, because again, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis was for us, like y'all said, the SOS band.
But do you feel like they were the go-to because the SOS band was just really starting like in '82, '83, right?
Right.
But I mean, like, would somebody have said, would whoever was managing Gladys say, hey, we need to get with Jam and Lewis, or they were just starting, like they didn't have a name. Like, you know how, like, if you got with Timbaland, I didn't care nothing about Nelly Furtado until it said produced by Timbaland. Like, That's what I mean. Like, were there any producers of the 80s that just had that name that's like, yo, if they produced it, I don't care what it is, it's going to be a hit?
It was really hard because, again, like I said, everything was experimental. So nobody really had a sound. You know what I mean? And the sound didn't become until really Teddy Riley came with New Jack. That was kind of like, this is the sound here. But people were just trying things. Like, I mean,
because most of the people from the 80s that most people love, Luther, Anita, Whitney, they were in the 80s. They didn't come from the 70s to the 80s.
Right.
Most of the people who did great in the 80s were started in the 80s. So what do you think it was about Shaka?
Doing it from the 70s, really, that went into the 80s would have been Stevie. That's Stevie's on that commercial stuff.
Yeah.
Stevie's on my list.
Stevie and Mike.
Stevie and Mike, right.
Yep.
So what do you think it was about Shaka? Like, I mean, and again, I'm only naming 3 or 4 hits, but it's just
Shaka,
like that's more hits than the
I
average
mean,
person.
after kind of like What You Gonna Do For Me and I Feel For You, Shaka really had a lot of duds until.
I mean,
like,
yeah, but right, I know what you're saying, but
yeah, but again, she had funk. She was kind of like funk for real.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So she wasn't sounding like everybody else. You know what I mean? So that's why it's just like with her. That's why it's crazy. I just got into the album. What You Gonna Do For Me? Like, I'm really into it. And it was like so dope, but the sound was changing because if you listen to Naughty, and Naughty was with Ashford and Simpson and all that, but then you listen to What You Gonna Do For Me, it sounds so completely different because the technology changed. You know what I mean? So it's between 1980 and 85, it was really hard to find that producer to go to and say, I'm gonna get a hit. You know what I mean? And then once Michael came with Thriller, everybody was like, oh, let's try Quincy Jones. It might not work. You know what I'm saying? Right. You know what I mean? So
and the sad part is that's a sad place to be because without Marley and the Trackmasters, I don't think LL is still relevant. You know, without Premier for KRS-One, I don't know if KRS is still relevant. You know what I mean? So like you said, the 80s was just a crazy time where, like you said, experimenting. But it's just like, I feel like without that, a lot of people wouldn't have been able to do this decade hopping without having that sound. All right, no doubt. Vern, who you got up for your next one?
I'm gonna pull something out the wazoo. Herbie Hancock.
Not mad at that.
I was gonna say him.
Not mad at Herbie at all.
Herbie played with Miles Quintet from 63 to 68. Then he went left, so that's straight ahead jazz. Then he goes and creates the Headhunters.
You better run it.
The purists looking at him like, "Hey, what are you doing, bro?" You know. And then he's a Buddhist, so he went even a little bit further left and started experimenting with I can't even pronounce it, Mwandishi in '70s, and then in the '70s era. Then we fast forward to the '80s. with the Rocket joint. That's I mean, bro, you gonna be ostracized from jazz when you got who was that DST who was scratching that kill on Rocket
Yeah, Grandmaster DST.
DST
Grandmaster
yeah
DST.
83. So then he kind of goes back to his roots in the 90s and does a tribute to Miles, and then he did an album where he like redid like Beatles songs and Prince songs and stuff like that, and then right now he's still I got one of the things I'm glad about I got to see him live. Um, he's rocking with Kamasi Washington and Terrace Martin and Thundercat and all them young cats out of California. So he's still staying fresh and still staying relevant.
Mhm.
So I wanted just because we'll never talk about Herbie, but I wanted to give him his flowers. And he has a great book that I read. What is it called? Possibilities. It's real dope. So yeah, I want to say Herbie Hancock.
Yeah, Herbie, you just made me pull out some vinyl. I think probably the Sunlight album is probably my favorite joint. This one right here. But yeah, Herbie, yeah, great call with that, man. Great call with that with Herbie. JR, who you got up next for yours?
It's on me. I'm gonna say Missy. I'm gonna say Missy because she's all over the place as far as being an artist, being a producer, being a writer, being all this, and since '93, that girl has not stopped since. So you know what I'm saying. So she's been able to transition through decades and decades and decades, and it's so great that she's able to be her. She don't got to change for nobody. You know what I'm saying? Missy is the same Missy that we know in '97. It's still the same Missy that she is. She just brought out this album in 2020. This icon something. I forgot what it's
She
called.
dropped a new album?
Yeah, it's like an EP.
All right, is it dope?
Yeah. If you like Missy, I mean, you would like it. You know what I mean? Because Missy crazy with it. You know what I mean? These new art. Is
it dope? Because when your voice go high, it's like, is it dope, man?
No, it is. Nah,
I see. It's like, what was that dude? What was that on Why'd I Get Married? It was like every time. What Marcus do every time when he lied or something, he stuttered or something, or he said something.
Yeah.
He's saying, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like that's JR. When your voice get high pitched, it's like would you say, Burn, beautiful gowns? Like I feel like that's what JR do. When
No.
I'm like, is it dope? Like, yeah, it's dope.
The joint she got like throwback. Like that was off the joint. And like I think the only thing the new generation would like from her is her videos. So of course they're not gonna really get the music like we would, but for me, I think it's dope. To be honest with you,
I want to check it out. Missy, I mean, I think Missy is almost a female Busta Rhymes. You know what I mean? Like, cause she's able to do because so many people don't know about her pen game too. Like, I was just playing the other day in the car with Nate. Say Yes off of Whitney that she did.
Yeah,
that Missy did, which is one of my favorite Whitney songs. I was like, Nate, yo, people try to tell you Whitney fell off. Yo, this was one of my favorite Whitney songs ever. Is the joint Missy did, what she was doing for 702, for Tweet. I mean, we could just go on and on and on about Missy's pen game, her production. I mean, Jasmine Sullivan. Just incredible what Missy did. So yeah, that's a great call with Missy. And I think it's just that talent, because trust me, when I first heard that that shit she did on Gina, whatever that shit did, Puffy did, the remix with Gina Thompson. Yeah. The first time I heard Missy, you could not have told me she was gonna be around 30 years later. Cause I thought that was the corniest shit I ever heard in my life. I was like, this I was like, yo, who is this? Yo, but I have no problem saying I was 100% wrong because Missy does it all.
Because she's the reason for All About the Benjamins, for real.
How you peg that?
Because she's the one that actually arranged the song.
What you mean?
Like she said,
like talk to me like I'm a battered Sixers fan. Like, what do you mean she arranged the song? Like,
no,
talk to me like I'm a abused wife or something.
Like she created like the melody to the song, so everybody was able to spit on it. But she's not credited.
When you say the melody, like really talk to me like I'm a battered wife. Like, what do you mean made the melody? Because it's the sample. So what did Missy do? Why do I keep saying Missy?
Technically, she helped create the beat to that song.
So D-Dot didn't do it?
Yeah, but she was there with him. You know what I'm saying? Like she was there. She
I
kind
feel
of.
like you like talking in code, like Killer Tanya's beating you, like blink
Oh
twice.
no,
and then I'll
no!
call
Not
you,
when it come to Bad Boy, I will spill it all.
Oh, okay,
No.
okay, because you like
No.
she was there, like trying to give me signs and stuff.
She is the reason.
She produced the song. Indeed, I did.
In a way, yeah.
Okay.
And she was able. And
I've never.
people,
this is why I love Apartment 5. I've never heard this, even
really?
on Planet Twitter. I've
she's
never.
kind of the reason for All About the Benjamins, to be honest. So
Never heard it.
yeah,
Never heard it. Well, yeah. So, all right, Rel, who you got, man?
Yeah, I just looked that up. He is absolutely right.
I had no idea.
Real just fact checked you.
I never heard that, man. I've never heard that either.
I thought y'all did.
Yo, when you said all about the Benjamins and Missy Elliott, I'm like, what does one have to do with the other? Like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, I had no idea about that.
And JR, I would never fact check you. I would just.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Lord, I'm so out of it today. Okay.
I love Apartment 5B. I
That's my
just
turn.
really love you
You
guys.
see me, I'm like, you talk to me like I'm in a normal relationship, bro. Like, talk to me like I've been beat up last night. Like, talk to me like I'm Tina Turner and Ike just got finished whooping me. Like, you got to talk slow to me right now. You like, come on, kill. Like, and I'm like, be patient. Okay. What you got, Rel?
Oh man, I got De La Soul. Yeah, 3 Feet High and Rise in '89.
Yeah.
And Stakes is High is '96. It's one of my favorite albums. The Grind Date.
Grind Date, 5 mics,
2004.
man. 5 mics.
Oh yeah.
And the Grind Date came out 2004. Like, just think of the time, you know what I'm saying? And this is another group that did not compromise their integrity or their sound or their originality for the times. They just made dope music and very underappreciated in my opinion. And that's it for me. I mean, just dope albums. Like, dope groups find a way and they just continue to make dope albums, man. That's just what De La was to me. And it was kind of a growth as well. And some some examples of something like Break of Dawn from the
Balloon Mind State.
From Balloon Mind State to the joint on Sixes High with Common to
whoop anybody's ass in NBA Live.
NBA Live, man, come on, man, and you know what I'm saying
that Ooh joint with Redman and Wild Digger.
The joint Much More. That
Dilla killed that. Dilla killed that, man.
That was crazy. You know what I'm saying? So De La is legendary in my opinion. And
no, it ain't no your opinion, but they legendary.
They gotta get their flowers, man. So
thankfully, I think I heard that somebody bought.
Somebody brought Tommy Boy, so they're supposed to be on streaming.
Oh, that it? Somebody did.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Finally.
And I mean, one thing about De La too, man, just creators. Hell, like even with the Grind Date, I loved how the liner notes was their calendars. You know what I mean? And had real stuff on there, like, yo, got the short, got this tour, got the photo shoot. So I mean, like you said, Much More, Shopping Bags, Rock Cocaine Flow, like, with MF Doom, like these dudes were just dope all the way around. I think sometimes, man, just I don't know if it was being in that Native Tongue crew. Like, I think when people think of Native Tongue, it's just Tribe 1 through 5. Like, you ask somebody, like, when you hear Native Tongue, it's like Tribe. Then you may hear De La. So it's sad to say that. It's sad that, maybe them being down with Native Tongue almost hurt them some, because I feel like when people hear Native Tongue, they just hear De La. I hate the fact that nobody brings up the Jungle Brothers. I'm like, there is no Native Tongue without them. Yeah. You know what I mean? The Jungle Brothers have 2 back-to-back 5 mic albums, in my opinion. But, I mean, De La is just, I mean, again, bro, like you said, Potholes in My Lawn came out 88. I'm in 9th grade. I'm 14. Like you said, Grind Days 2004. I'm 30. You know what I mean? Like, you ain't going to find too many groups that can take you from 14 to 30 and still be making incredible music with the album when you're 30. You know what I mean? Like you ain't gonna find that. That's I don't think some younger folk may understand what an accomplishment that is. You know what I mean? So yeah, De La is definitely.
And did you see when they did much more on the Dave Chappelle show?
Yeah.
That was fire, man. I was like, man.
I mean, hell, these niggas was on damn Teen Titans. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, these dudes on cartoons now, you know, talking
That
about
shit
their
was
label
crazy.
problems. Like, yo, who else is doing that?
Yeah.
Like, who else
That
really
was
be like,
crazy,
y'all
man.
on Teen Titans? Eddie, who you got up for your next pick, man?
Oh man, that it's funny. I saw the Teen Titans like the other week just because, you know, I got a 6-year-old and that was hilarious, man.
Yo, Teen Titans, man, screw a 6-year-old, man. Teen Titans funny just regardless.
Yeah,
Like,
it's dope.
they stopped watching it.
Yeah,
I still be
dope.
watching the Teen Titans, man.
Yeah.
And they be talking about pyramid schemes on there and breaking that thing down for real. Too,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, Teen Titans is shit, man.
So my next artist, I got Evidence, you know, so you know, coming from
Very dope.
Dilated, you know, what was 2000, you know,
Dilated,
had some,
I think the first album was 2000, but the 12 inches was leaking, like Work the Angles was like maybe even 97, 98. But yeah.
Right. And then, you know, they had Worst Comes to Worst 2001. I think Alchemist did that joint, I want to say.
Yeah,
like,
you had that was off of Expansion Team. So you had Expansion Team and you had Neighborhood Watch.
Like, and they had that Kanye production on that. So, you know, they were dope. But I feel like as an artist, you know, definitely feeling, you know, Evidence kind of showed his growth, man. Like, getting personal in his lyrics and, you know, putting together really, really dope bodies of work. Like that Whether or Not album, I want to say was like a couple years back. Incredible. That's 5 mics to me. And he's producing, man. Like he's producing whole albums. Like he did the Brother Ali album, Secrets and Escape. He did he produced an album for The Far Eye in 2017. He did I don't even know he did Planet Asia album back in 2006, and there was someone else who came out and said that Evidence was going to produce his next album, and after that Brother Ali album, I'm like, shoot, I'm here for it. And so he's the kind of artist where I'm looking forward to his solo albums, but I'm also looking forward to his production, which is rare. So, I think he's dope.
Yeah, Ev, I've never understand. I know a lot of people who don't like Dilated. I love Dilated. Like, you know what I mean? But yeah, like you said, Cats and Dogs, this joint was crazy. Premier produced the lead single on this You, which is crazy. And like you said, this Whether or Not joint was a very, very dope album. So yeah, most definitely looking forward to Ev. How do you think he does it?
What was that?
So how you think he does it? How's the trick? What's his trick to stay relevant from
I think
2000 to 2021?
I think is that he had so much. If you listen to Dilated, right? You know, he had to function as part of the group, right? So it wasn't like he was just penning his own album, right? He you know, everyone had their verse, you know, him and Rocket Ivy Siren, you know, and but you know, so it wasn't just him, but I feel like he kind of gave more himself, made it more personal, you know what I mean? Like started, you know, personalizing stories. Like his stuff is you know, some of it is more moody, you know, and like he has this weather theme to it, like the dark clouds or whatnot. But I think it's dope. I think he's also one that kind of made his own lane, you know,
right?
And his voice and flow, like no one's really doing it like him, you know. Even with that slow flow, like it's dope because it kind of goes well with his voice, and then the kind of production that he chooses to spit over. So,
all right, dope. Porsche, you got up for your last two.
I only have a last one, and it's going to be, I don't know how you guys are going to feel about this, but it's Nas to me. I think Nas is in the same.
Hold up, here's the thing. What did you think we were going to say? Because you usually don't come in with the I don't know what you guys are
Yeah,
gonna say about this
I
one.
thought, to be
I
honest,
thought you was gonna say Drake because you usually don't lead in with that.
Drake.
I'm
Drake.
when do you lead in? You've been on here for years. I've never heard you lean in with I don't know what you guys are gonna
You
think
really
about.
did.
Well,
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm
true.
really like,
Because
what are
of
you
the
about to
topic.
say?
No, because of the topic. Like, because I mean, I know that King's Disease had mixed reviews and mixed
I
feelings.
love it.
I loved it
Me
personally.
too.
So anyways, like Nas, we know Illmatic 1994. We all know his catalog, but let's go to Stillmatic. That's in 01. And then fast forward again to 2020 and he's got King's Disease. Like, yes, Nas does have an up and down sort of catalog for, you know, it's not perfect all the way through, definitely, but Nas definitely can still come with it when he wants to. He can get in his bag. Lyrically, he's still very much capable. His storytelling is still on point. He gives you everything you want that he's always ever given you. And I think that he's very consistent with that. Now, I think, again, I'm kind of personally, for me, I'm always hype. If Nas drops a joint, I'll listen to it. Even if Kanye is going to mess up the production on it, you know, like I still listen to Nasir. Didn't love it.
I swear, me, Nas, and Destiny are the only people
I
who
think you
love
guys
Nasir.
are, really,
I really
truly.
think it's just me, the three of us.
But like, yeah, I mean, whatever Nas drops, I think people will check for it, whether it's for criticizing and critiquing the beat selection, or whether it's for actually genuinely listening to it to, you know, actually form an opinion and weigh it for what it is. Nas always gets, you know, people always get hype, whether they want to believe it or not, or whether they want to admit it or not. If you find out Nas is dropping a joint in 2023, you're going to be looking forward to it. That's all I'm saying. So, and I think he does that by, again, just doing what he does best. And that's just telling the story, bringing the bars, like making sure there's quotables. Even in Nasir, there was quotables. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think he's pretty consistent as an MC.
Yeah.
I think one thing that we, myself included, and I've had to kind of, from doing this show too, but I think looking back at, we give Nas a lot of shit for his discography, but I think a lot of the stuff after it was written, you know, the times were changing, you know, so it's almost going back to what JR is saying, like in the 80s, like times were changing. I think Nas decided, yo, I want to be respected as a lyricist, but I still don't want to fucking be a broke rapper. Like, I don't just want to be, you know, no disrespect, I don't want to be no Nature type nigga, you know, who people say got bars, but, you know, still living in Queensbridge or whatever like that. So I think that's a hard place to be. And now being 47, I can look back at that and say, like, I can see where you're trying to please both worlds. You know what I mean? And we weren't at the place yet where like Fab is, where Fab can give you the album, but then he's gonna give you the soul tapes. Because I think if Nas was doing that, if Nas was giving us a bullshit album, but then giving us Heads, a mixtape with Large Pro and Premier on the beats and Pete Rock on the beats, I think people wouldn't be as hard on it as it is. You know, my only thing with Nas has always been like, why is the only time you get with Pete Rock on the Lost Tapes? Like, why are these Pete Rock beats only when they don't make the album? Like, how is that humanly possible? Like, and the Pete Rock stuff was the only shit I liked off the last Lost Tapes. You know what I mean? So that would be my only question. But no, I agree with you. I mean, what other MC at Nas's caliber, 92, and still King's Disease in 2020?
Yeah. And I think it's also, I think sometimes as hip hop fans, we forget that hip hop evolves very rapidly. It's a very, very rapidly evolving genre and culture. And within that, there's subgenres that kind of come out. And I think there's something to be said. That's why I like this topic so much, is because these MCs that we're naming, and of course this is just like the shortest list of a very long, you know, list of artists and MCs and stuff. It's very difficult to stay consistent and like remain top tier and top level and mentioned and relevant as your culture and your genre is evolving as rapidly as hip hop does. And I think that oftentimes as fans, we forget that, and we just expect like well, duh, like you should know how we want what we want to hear. It's not. I don't think it's like that for artists. I'm not one, but I would assume it's not easy to just change your style and your entire thing on the fly. You know, so yeah.
And here's the thing, Porsche, I want to know what you think. Do you really think it's a long list of people? Because the reason why I say that is because it's like Craig Mack said, y'all won't be around next year. Like so many MCs aren't able to do the decade jumping. You know, like I feel like, I mean, we could come up with more than 5. But I just don't know if it's a long. Okay. I just don't think it's a long.
We've got 30 here, and I think each of us could probably come up with another.
Right. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
So it does get kind of long, but yes, relative to how many MCs there are and artists there are in R&B and hip hop, it's tiny. Like relative to it's like our brackets, right? Like
right.
You're 64 out of like thousands of MCs. It's not long, but yeah.
Something I wanted to mention about Nas, because I'm thinking about his catalog, and I feel like Nas, maybe intentionally or unintentionally, I think he was thinking about legacy in certain projects, that he wanted to make a certain statement, right? So you look like an album, the album that he had with Damian Marley, the Distant Relatives, right? They were covering a lot of subject matter. You got the Untitled album, even that double album. What was the name of that double album? Streets Disciple, right? You know, it was a little bloated, but you know, he had joints on there where he was addressing stuff. And I think, you know, when an artist doesn't give you necessarily what you want, you're going to be disappointed, right? Like you're expecting a certain album, right? You were expecting another Stillmatic or Godson, and you got something else. But like with my favorite artists, like once I do get like what I wanted, maybe in a different album, I may go back and listen to the other stuff. So I think, you know, when I don't want to hear maybe the same old, I go back and I kind of dive in, and I've kind of been able to do that and appreciate some of those albums that maybe get hated on unfairly, you know what I mean? Because those are actually pretty dope.
That's crazy, because I can't. Like, there's nothing that will change my mind about Streets Disciple. Like, I can go back in that shit in another 30 years. I'm still gonna be like, this shit, like, for a double album too, like, that literally may be one of the worst hip-hop double albums of the double album era of hip-hop bands. Like, but I get it. Here's the thing. Now as you're getting married, so you're doing dumbass songs with Maxwell about getting married. So I get it, you know what I mean? Like, but I mean that's good that you could go back. I just can't. Like, I mean, like that Hip Hop Is Dead album. That there is no time can pass by enough for me to go back, and I'm gonna just stick with Stillmatic and It Was Written, Illmatic, and Life Is Good and King's Disease. Like but I'm not mad at those, because you're gonna drop the ball. Like I think we said this a while ago on the show. If you stay around so many years, you're gonna drop the ball. Like, and if you don't, then you're just like a godsend or something like that. But then if you're also willing, I think Nas is willing to take risks. Yeah. You know, because if you don't drop the ball, because I was gonna say, well, Pusha really hasn't, you know, came up on a dub, but he hasn't pushed the limits. He's gonna just keep doing what pays the bills, you know. Whereas Nas is like, nah, I'm gonna go over here and try this shit. You know what I mean? Or I'm gonna do this. What you guys say, Ralph?
And I think like with Nas, it's kind of like the parallel with LL too. Like he's good at he good at bouncing back. You know what I'm saying? From drop something that's not, you know, maybe not as good as some of the other things. He always bounce back with something. And when you saw the track list for King's Disease, I know a lot of people was worried because you saw Lil Durk on there. You saw, you know what I mean? So you saw the features and you was like, and I think that's what makes that album so good to me, is because he pulled that shit off. Like you see ASAP Ferg and Durk, and you know what I'm saying? And he pulled it off, and it's actually dope, you know what I'm saying? And and I, you know, I agree with the whole sentiment with Nas, and like he has albums that like don't get mentioned a lot that are like dope, like Godson is a dope album, and
I love it.
Favorite, they don't bring that album up. That album, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, it is.
he got some heat on that album. You know what I'm saying? So and look, not everybody can do it for that long, man. It's just the special. You got to be special to be able to do it. You know what I'm saying? So
Hey,
yeah.
Kill, I was with my man last Friday, and he said something that was very impactful. He said either you die a hero or you live long enough to be a villain. Um, you know, if you make 3 albums, okay, yeah, but if you make 7 to 10, they ain't gonna all hit like that. But you still making albums, so yeah, Nas is there without question.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I know I said I only had Nas was going to be my last one, but I do have another MC that I want to talk about. Tracy Lee. Tracy Lee is
Oh yeah.
1997, then 2000, then 2014, then 2020. Like Trey has not missed a step. And yes, the discography may not be as long as some of the other MCs that we talk about, but the consistency, the the level of rapping, the subject matter, the concepts, like Trey is like a Swiss Army knife. If we're being real, like he and to be really honest, if Trey has another album coming out, I'm hyped for it. Not because, you know, he appears on Apartment 5B or he's the Apartment 5B resident lawyer or anything like that, but on some real like talent and concepts and actually putting together sequencing, cohesion. Like that Glory album is so detailed. Is so detailed. He really paid attention to every little bit of every part of an album, from cover art to videos to track listing to the way it's titled in chapters, and then the last word segues into the next track. Like the guy is a genius for real, as an MC. So I do have to. I cannot end this without saying Tracy Lee.
Nah, no doubt. That's definitely dope. The last two people I got the good brother Maxwell. You know, you got Urban Hang Suite from 96. I mean 96. I'm bugging. The live Unplugged album, which was crazy, gave you This Woman's Word.
We just finished talking about that.
I know a lot of people didn't like Embria. Totally understand why people didn't like it, but I messed with it. I love Now too. And probably, I don't know if this, I mean, Black Summer Night, Black may be one of my favorite, this may be my favorite Maxwell album. I mean, I love this joint. And then, you know, the next one, Summer, wasn't as good, but, you know, it was still a dope album. I still wish he put out the last one for Night. But, yeah, I think Maxwell just makes dope, I think mature soul music. I don't know if that's the right way to kind of call it, but just whenever Maxwell's drop, what you gonna say?
No, I agree with that, because as long as you ain't called that neo soul bullshit.
Oh, no. Not, I hate that saying. That's right there with gangster rap. But you know, I just know like whenever Maxwell's gonna drop, like I'm always gonna get something. And the thing that he does that I love is, and I don't know why more artists haven't done this, is when he makes his up-tempo songs slow jams, like what he did with Something Something off the Love Jones soundtrack. You know what I mean? And he did the same thing with this joint on Now. I think it Was My Girl on the Now album, and he made it's a slow jam, but the original, I think it As My Girl was on the Best Man soundtrack, which was an up-tempo song. But then he freaked it and made a slow jam song. I never understood why more artists don't do that, because something, the up-tempo joint is banging, and that Love Jones joint, something, the Mellow Smooth remix is crazy too. So I got Maxwell, and then the other person I got in my R&B bag that nobody talks about is Raheem DeVaughn. Like Raheem DeVaughn dropped his first album 2005, I mean, which was crazy. You know, and then he just dropped, what's the name of this joint? Like, yo, I nobody talks about it all the time.
Man, that album is dope.
But not the joint with Apollo Brown. I haven't even heard that one. But I'm talking about this joint. What a Time to Be in Love.
What a Time to Be in Love. Yeah.
This album is like, I listen to this this is a great album.
So dope.
And I mean, he does it all. I mean, he talks about what's going on in the community. He's being that Marvin voice to talk about doing stuff in the community and Black Lives Matter. So he talks about that, and he still gives you some wonderful baby making music, whatever you want to call it, slow jams, whatever. His slow jams are just still crazy. So I mean, and nobody talks about him, but I'm like, yo, this man has how many albums is
He's
this?
been so consistent. He got what, 8?
He's got Love Experience, Love Behind the Melody,
Love Behind the
Love
Melody.
War Masterpiece,
Yeah,
a place called Loveland, which is crazy. Love Passion Sex,
yeah,
Decade of a Love King.
The
like,
Love
and then this What It's Time
Reunion.
to Be in Love, the Love Reunion. I'm like, yo, this dude has had a crazy discography.
Yeah.
And like nobody talks about it, which is insanity to me. But so those are the last two I got. Vern, who's the last two people you got up for yours?
I'm gonna go Too Short. 83, Don't Stop Rapping. 87, Born to Mac. 88, Life is Too Short. Shorter Than Pimp. All the way up to 2006, Blow the Whistle. You know, he doesn't get mentioned a lot. Too Short knows who he is, knows what he was, and he stayed right there. And he's respected by industry vets. He started out pumping music out of his trunk for Dope Boys, and he created a lane for himself. He's not the most lyrical rapper. He ain't, you ain't quoting his lyrics necessarily, but you know what you're gonna get when you put on the Too Short album. You know his favorite word.
So how's he done it? How's he done it? What's the secret to his salmon sauce?
The secret to his sauce is he started out making Dope Boys. He said, "Hey, what's your name? I'm Big Pimpy's whatever. All right, give me $20. I'm gonna put you in a rap." And that's how he got on. Just making rap for Dope Boys and stuff. And you know, he found that lane, and he's an entrepreneur, one of the first entrepreneurs in a rap game, man. And he just stay right there. It's funky. You know, he gonna have Ant Banks and them, you know, with those bass lines and stuff. It's real. It's a throwback to the music that we grew up listening. Our parents played, and so that's where he is, and he ain't trying to veer from that. He know he ain't no extra lyrical rapper. He ain't trying to be. He don't care because he's like, I'm getting this money, you know. So Too Short is one, and then I can't leave here without shouting out Layla Hathaway. So
I knew you were gonna say her. I knew.
I mean, I got a couple more, but because I know you better say one that I'm thinking about, Jay. I saved this one for you. 1990, Layla Hathaway self-titled album. I can't read my writing, but all the way.
Yo, bro, that first Layla Hathaway with "Baby Don't Cry."
That is my that's why Angela Winbush needs to get respected too.
Angela Winbush, boy. Yeah, you better know it.
Yeah,
crazy.
Bro.
Yeah, you know, self-portrait, where it all begins. You know, Outrun the Sky. Yeah, man. Then 2015, that live Layla Hathaway album, and then 2017, she veered totally away from what she does a lot and had some trappish type beats on some of it.
honestly.
You know, yeah. You know, hey, but I liked a lot of songs on there. Some I didn't care for, but to be here from 90 into 2017, and then the beauty of it, for years she was unsung and unheralded. But the last 10 years of her life, I think she probably got 5 to 7 Grammys since then. And it's a testament to just staying true to who you are, and the right people going to hear you, and it's going to be dope. And just another, I've seen her live probably 3 times. A God's gift to the world in the vocals, man. So yeah, Layla Hathaway.
All right, no doubt. JR, who you got for your last two?
I'd be crazy if I didn't. Mary, of course.
Okay, okay,
Of course, come on. Mary, of course. I mean, she's been her since 1992. You know what I mean? Now, I ain't gonna stop. Mary do have some dubs. I ain't no stan because I don't stand for nobody. Right. But she had a couple of dubs. But Mary she's just her, and that's why she's been able to just been so relevant for the past 27 years, 28. Yeah, about that, right? 92.
30, man. 30.
Yeah, just say 30. Yeah, 30. She's been consistent that long. So Mary J. Blige for sure.
Strength of a Woman. Her last album, Strength of a Woman, I loved it.
I did. I think, but
I mean, I think Jasmine with that pen. Jasmine can write a song about heartbreak. If Jasmine can't do nothing, she can write a song about a breakup.
And it
And
just
I think that's what we love from Mary. People love, and it's always been the joke. Like Mary happy, nobody like happy Mary. We like sad,
can't stand that.
broke. I'm just
because
just saying
because everybody try to think that Mary's the heartbreak. If you listen to her albums, they are not heartbreak albums at all. Like,
but what I'm saying is, what you get out of it is, I know my life. She's going through the breakup.
yeah,
with
she's
KC.
well, yeah, that.
Boom,
Yeah.
my life, and to me, that's her magnum opus. So it's like when people want you to get back to your magnum opus, it's like you gotta go, you know. And again, it's wrong to say, but strength of a woman breaking up with the husband, divorcing the husband. Now you get, you know, in my opinion, you know, probably her last best album of the past 10 years. Because, and the sad part is I think Mary. Again, and you correct me if I'm wrong, because you the boy when it comes to this. Phyllis Hyman, like, to me, her great music is the sad music. You know what I mean? And that may be a sad thing to say, but her great, you know, like, so it's almost just like when Mary. I mean, of course, people like that you know, all her up tempo joints. But I just think, you know, I don't know what it is. Maybe you get focused more when you sad. Some people just work better in certain environments.
But everybody loved the breakthrough, though.
Well, again, I'm on the outside looking in. I wasn't. My thing is Mary. I mean, what's the 411? My Life. That joint Mary. I wasn't even a super big fan of Share My World. It was cool.
A lot of people wasn't. That's cool. True. Yeah,
I liked Mary, and then she kind of disappeared for a couple of years for me because I wasn't really into the dancery and all that shit. Like,
she
you know, I
went back to that because nobody felt her on the Mary project. So it was like, let me go back to that bag.
But I think the problem is, it goes back to what Vern was saying about Layla, is that, and I get it, because everybody doesn't have the ability to do that. I don't know about Layla's record situation. Is she independent? Is she signed? Because when you're signed, you don't have the leeway to just do what you want to do and stay in your bag and wait for people to catch up to you, because you got to move units. You know what I mean? So it's not always, you know, it's what Mary wants to do. It's kind of like a partnership between the label and the artist, and what we're telling you to do. So, you know, that's the thing. Like, maybe with Layla, if she's indie, she can do Conway and Westside, and them can do whatever the hell they want to do. You know, there's nobody telling them do this or do that. Mary may have not had that same freedom. Same with Nas, you know. So I think we always have to just keep that in mind, that when you're on a label, you're in a relationship, you're in a partnership. So it's not just you get to do what you want to do. You and the executives have to try to come to some agreement on what you're going to do or whatever like that. So I just think with Mary, I think Mary makes her best music when, you know, it's sad to say, it's almost like some athletes. They play their best when their back's against the wall. They need to be in a game 7. They need to be down 30.
Get it? Oh God!
I just said down 30.
That was so Rel.
I didn't even
do it, Rel.
Oh God!
I didn't even mean that. Was just, I just caught myself. I'm just saying that some people work best with their back. I know people who they love a deadline. They love their procrastinators, and they wait till the night before, and they're able to bang that out. I can't do that. I would just freeze up like, yo, it's not enough time. So I'm just saying certain people work better under different conditions. And I just think maybe Mary makes her best music when maybe she's not in the happiest of places in life. That's all. I could be dead ass wrong, you know? Maybe she could have made
sure. She ain't never been in a happy place, to be honest, but
I mean, yeah.
I just want to share what I thought was a slept on Mary album, that London Sessions.
Yeah, that's very dope album.
Thank you, Eddie.
Very dope album. Very dope album. Now, a lot of people didn't hear, but very dope album. Very dope album. Which I wouldn't mind her work. And I think a lot of times what Mary is trying to figure out that fit again. You know what I mean? Like, it's
I
like,
want her back with Sadiq.
Yeah, it's almost like, what producer am I going to work with this time? Like, her career is kind of like a hodgepodge of just whoever's dope at the time or whoever's, you know, all over the place. Well, I would just love for her to just kind of just sit back and just, like you said, with Sadiq, because that I Found My Everything is incredible. And I mean, here's the thing, man, everybody just need to work with Sadiq. Like, you know, at the end of the day, he wouldn't have time to just, he wouldn't have no more time, because it's just like, yeah, put everybody, because this stuff he did with Josh Stone. But neither here, we still in with Mary. So Mary, and who else you got?
I was gonna say Babyface as a producer anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause
No, I mean, yeah.
yeah, I'm thinking about that. I had to wait for a second.
Yeah, I was like looking like, huh?
No. Because I was thinking, you know where went bad at? I was still thinking relevant now, but that's not the show. The show is decades, and he was killing it in the '80s, and he was killing it in the '90s. With Babyface. That's a great pick.
And then
Because
he was
he definitely
rocking
had this now
even in the
2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd say Babyface. His catalog is ridiculous.
It's a very dope pick. That's a very dope pick. But I guess it goes back then. It started in the '80s because he was the go-to producer in the '90s. So those '70s acts, like you said, still didn't have a Babyface to go to get that hit. Oh man, that's crazy.
Even though he was rocking for Midnight Star in the early '80s, so
I mean the deal.
Yeah, the deal. Yeah, shoot 'em up movies. Yeah, that's a dope pick. Very dope pick. Ro, who you got for your last two?
I got Pusha T, Clips, Laura Williams.
Even before Lord Willing, The Funeral, the 12-inch of The Funeral.
Yeah.
Oh my God, man.
Fire. And he's one of the most anticipated people coming out right now. I mean, Daytona was one of the best albums of the year.
Yes. Yes, sir.
You go back to the Clips, you got their second album.
Well, 5 mics.
It's 5 mics. I don't care what nobody say. That's a classic.
Hell have no fury, man.
Keys Open Door. Man, I could just go on for a long time on that one. But Push is in his 40s, man, and he's still sharp, and he's talking about the same thing and has found a way to make it fire and make it interesting through his whole career. It's every time, and it's you don't even really think about it. That's Lord Willing came out. I mean, The Funeral was. God,
The Funeral was 97.
Yeah, like that. That's
it's 2022, damn near.
That's a long time.
And then you look at it like Daytona. Many people say that's his best album. So to be around from 97 and to make your best album in 2018. And trust me, none of that stuff, ever just fades out like that. Porsche, I know you gotta leave. Give them all the information.
I'm so sorry, Ralph.
No. I know we went over tonight. Everybody again. She hates Drake, likes Troy. It's simple. Just there you go. Porsche, where can they get at you?
On Twitter at Shayla Porsche, and we have Twitter Spaces on Mondays. So join if you're available. 6:15 Pacific time, 9:15 Eastern time, and we have different topics that I tweet out throughout the day. So at Shayla Porsche. And it was so great to see you guys. I'm sorry that let you guys down, Rel and Kill.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Just keep us in your prayers. Just keep us in your prayers.
Hey P, I'm gonna take you to this dope pizza spot when you come.
Sure, sounds good. Take care, guys. See ya.
All right.
Bye.
I mean, Rel, even this joint, like my name is my name. Like, 5 mics to me. You know what I mean? My eyes dark as before the dawn. This joint was crazy. My other Pusha T is downstairs, but he don't miss.
You know the thing about Push, he does not sound bored ever. You know what I'm saying? He
somebody said that before.
It's like he's still like I'm trying to annihilate somebody every time I get on the mic.
Yo, it's so crazy. And again, this is bad parenting. Don't do this at home, everybody. Like Nate came in here and I was listening to something and I was just like breaking down his rhymes to her. Like she was like, that's crazy. Like, what was it? Tony Malice found religion. Tony found prison. I'm just trying to find my way up out this fucking kitchen. Like, the bird's eye view. Now the Kilo's got a sibling. I'm like, the Kilo's got a sibling. Like, what? Like, I just wanted a master class. Like, what are you thinking about when you write? He says something like, sent my young John on a way to get a bachelor's, sent my other on a way to get a master's, same graduation. I was clapping in the rafters. Like, and you visualize all that. Like, you got your 2 Johns graduating in the same graduation. You up in the rafters. Like, I have no idea how you can make everybody else will get boring after a while. Like, I mean, even MOP, and I love MOP, but 50 ante ups, I'm kind of like, okay, I'm kind of MOP'd out. But like you said, with Push, it's still like, yo, how many more ways can you find to talk about cocaine?
Like I said, he's not bored, so it's not boring.
Right.
The imagery, man. The imagery. So he got a song on Swizzlaz John called Cold Blooded, right? And he says, "You wonder why these kids of the '90s are crazy. Broken black homes is the modern slavery. You can't raise a savage and deny the rabies." I'm like, what? This dude is crazy, and you know he's still sharp, man. So that was my one. My second is a sleeper. I don't know if y'all mess with this dude, but everybody in hip hop mess with this dude, and he has his own lane, and he's been doing it for a while, and that is Devin the Dude.
Not mad at that.
Devin the Dude been out for about 20 years doing what he do. He's always gonna, when his fans are always going to support his, you know what I'm saying? And if you ask people in hip hop, they all of them fuck with Devin the Dude. You know
he on the De La Soul album, Baby Fat.
He on the Roots joint. I mean, he got a joint with Nas. He got
the Doobie Ashtray with Primo,
Doobie Ashtray. I mean, and you know, and no one is like Devin the Dude. Yep. He has his own style, whether he's rapping or singing.
Yeah.
He's like the everyman, like he's one of those everyman MCs where he's talking about stuff that everyday stuff that you can relate to. You know what I'm saying?
And he's funny.
And he's funny. And he's himself. And he ain't never changed. And he's true to himself. And that's why he had the longevity that he's had. So Devin is my last one.
No doubt. Nettie, who you got up for yours?
All right, I got two. I got one hip hop, one R&B joint, and the first one I'm gonna go with Snoop. For him to start, really with the Chronic, because you know he was just as much of a star of the Chronic as Dr. Dre was. Like,
truth be told, you could start with Deep Cover.
Deep Cover was so crazy.
Deep Cover was so crazy. That could have been an EP right there. That was like an old 80-12 inch because Deep Cover was
crazy. So doing that, then he had, Doggy Style, Bonafide Classic. He had his No Limit run. And then, 2004 and 2006, two very dope albums, The Rhythm and Gangster, and then the Blue Carpet Treatment. And, he's been really hit or miss since then, but he has dropped some.
Which was the joint Beautiful? What was the joint Beautiful?
I think that was the Rhythm and Gangster.
That was a dope one.
Yeah. Like him and Pharrell, and that's why I think.
Oh God, I needed that.
Like Snoop and Pharrell. I mean, I think like Snoop, he could get in a certain bag. Like, he's gone far left. Like, he had his gospel album, he had his reggae album, the Snoop Lion. But if he wants to get in his West Coast gangster bag, you know what I mean? Like, he still got the voice. Like, how he was rapping, like, it ain't that difficult. It wasn't like he was super lyrical miracle, right? He could still do that. You know what I mean? So I still feel like I still check. Like, he got a new album I haven't checked out yet, but I've heard some good things about it. From the Streets to the Sweets. So I might check that out. But he's still relevant.
Yeah, not a big fan of Snoop anymore, but I think one of the key things that you're saying is he didn't have to keep doing the gangster thing. Like, Beautiful was fine, and then he had to join with the Coming to America sample that I think Knots did. Like, so it wasn't like he had to still be this Crip, who's still talking about gangbanging 20, 30 years later, So even, and again, to me, even if the music doesn't speak to me, I just commend you for being able to grow and not trying to keep doing the same thing that got you here. Because that's what so many, especially street rappers, they want to try to keep doing that. And it's like, dog, you coach. It's a Netflix documentary on you coaching football. Like, dog, don't nobody want to hear about you, out here, shoot nobody or whatever. So I think that's dope too.
I'm sorry, I was laughing because to kill how you was going at somebody on Twitter this week.
No, I wasn't going on him. Somebody said like you can't say anything bad about Snoop, and I'm like, come on, nigga, you can say something bad about anybody.
Oh yeah. That's what it was. That's what it was.
Yeah. It's like I'm like Chris Rock. Nobody's above an ass whooping. Like, come on now. Like Snoop is not untouchable. Like I commend him, but but for this topic, yeah, he's 100% right. Like I mean, Beautiful was a banger. I imagine that was some of my mixtapes. So
Drop It Like It's Hot.
Drop It Like It's Hot. Forgot about that. Drop It Like It's Hot. So yeah.
And you know, my last one is Brandy.
Yes.
Her debut album.
Yes.
You don't have to, man. 1994. You know, and then follow that up. Never Say Never, Full Moon, Aphrodisiac. Like she hasn't had many misses, man. Like what? She has like 7 full albums. Like I don't know if she has missed. Her latest album, 2020, B7, very dope.
Man, come on, bro. Man, listen. That album came out, not to get morbid. That album came out the morning of my cousin's funeral, and it's crazy. I was in my dad's house downstairs taking a shower, bumping it, and my little sister was upstairs bumping it, and it kind of like ministered to us, man. So yeah, shout out to Brandy for real. Yeah.
Her and Camper got together and did some goodness.
Man, come on, man.
Yes, they did.
Brandy, you know, like she's someone who did a good job of evolving both her maturity and writing, but also her sound. Like she did a great job at that, and that's where a lot of artists I think fall, you know. But I can't think of an album she dropped where it's like, like maybe one, but for the most part, like she did a great job with the producers she worked with, her songwriting and all that, and her voice is still her voice.
Man, that girl can sing.
Eddie, that was on my list too. That was a good one, man. That was a good one. When I saw the verses with her and Monica, I forgot how many hit. Like she was just coming with hit after hit after hit. Like it was crazy. I was like, yo, Monica not gonna be able to. Like it was getting crazy, man. Like I was like, yo, they both.
And there's some stuff that Brandy hits that she didn't play. So
it was crazy, man. Definitely.
I love the joint she did with Kanye.
I love
it. What you about to say, Joe?
I love the Aphrodisiac. People don't like it. A lot of people don't like it because they feel like she left Rodney and went to Timbaland. So it was a whole different sound. But I think her and Timbaland got together and did some damage for real. Like that's a top 10 Brandy album for me.
I think maybe a lot of people didn't like it because at that time, you know, Aaliyah was Timbaland's girl. So
that's true.
I know people was kind of like hoping for that type vibe, but it's like she ain't Aaliyah, you know what I mean? And then the people were coming in expecting the Rodney Jerkins sound like nigga, Timbaland ain't Rodney Jerkins. So again, I just think a lot of people were coming at it with different like expectations, and it was just kind of like people wanted Aaliyah, people wanted Aaliyah, people wanted Rodney, and it's like that's what you're not gonna get that, you know.
Kill, you do counseling, and that's one of the worst things you could do in any relationship. Expectations it will kill you.
I learned that.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that's the thing with that. But great call, because I think I talk about Brandy all the time, and it's like, yo, people just don't. I'm like, yo, one, she can sing her ass off.
Man.
Two, her ad libs are just stupid. People
don't understand
the importance of
her influence is so
like
big
her ad libs
are
stupid. And like you said, this last album, I'd Rather Be Kissing You, Borderline. Like I forgot the name of the song that sets the whole album off. Crazy.
Sorry for my time.
On my love.
So it's like, yo, you got.
I'm about to run that mug tonight, man.
I'm about to play it on my mind.
But I think it's like you said, JR. She got with Camper. Like I think that's the thing when you have those producers who you can really work with, and you kind of come up with something. I think that can always help an artist. Because again, every artist is going to be Pusha T. To me, Pusha T can rhyme over whatever, and he's going to make it sound great.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's not like Pusha T got to get in the studio with Pharrell. You know what I mean? That Daytona was during that whole everybody putting out 7 songs, and that his was the only one that was dope. So again, you don't need, he doesn't need the top tier production or the big name producer to do whatever. He's just that great of a lyricist. But where singers don't have that, like you could be the greatest singer, but if you don't have a good songwriter and a good producer, like you just, it doesn't work the same as it can be with a rapper. You know what I mean? So I think, like you said, her getting with Camper, and when you lose your Rodney Jerkins, it's kind of like, where do I go from here? And that's a weird place to be, because you probably got all these people like, hey, come and work with me, and it's like, I don't know, and I don't, you know what I mean? So
that's what happened with her in 211. When she started working with everybody, and to me, it just didn't work.
You know what? That was the one. That was probably the one I would say was kind of a miss.
Because she was working with Bangladesh, whatever his name, Mike Will. She worked with him, like all these people, and I think they more fans. It's like you wanted to work with her. They looking at her like, yo, I'm a fan of you. Like, I'm a fan. Like, you're not connecting. Like,
Jermaine Dupri and Janet Jackson.
Stop. I'm done.
No, I'm saying that's exactly
because you're right. Because you're right. I wish she would have never worked with him ever. Ever.
And I didn't think about this till now. That album is so dope because it's one producer.
What album? Which one?
The last Brandy.
The Brandy B7. It's all Camper.
It's all
one
Camper?
and Hit Boy did one. He did that Baby Mama.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it's
I
just,
didn't even realize that.
It's concise. It's I can't put the words in.
Yo, Vern, you talking like Fontaine right now, because he talking just like this about B7. Like, he loved this joint.
Yeah,
like,
man.
He in on it.
And I think that's the thing with the singer. You just have to kind of, as I was saying this on the timeline the other day, it's hard, and Vern, you may be able to relate to this. It's hard to get new friendships when you're married with kids, because all 3 people got to enjoy each other. Like, if the kids got to get along, the wives got to get along, the husbands got to get along. Yeah. Making a dope R&B album, you need a great singer, you need a great songwriter, and you need a great producer. You know what I mean? And I think that's sometimes what's hard about it. Why you make that face, y'all?
I mean, not these days. You don't need a great singer, to be honest.
Well, I mean, what I mean is for us. I mean,
for us.
Right. Okay.
You've got to have these 3 things together in order to make it work. Versus, like I said, a Pharaoh could just rhyme over whatever. That's why I've always said about Derringers. No knock to Derringers beats, but you've got Conway and Benny. You've got 2 of the dopest MCs right now on these beats. I don't know if another MC could ride these beats and give them the same energy. So it's just so much harder for a singer. I just want people to understand that it's a lot harder for a singer to bounce back than just a rapper to bounce back, because the rapper is 2 in 1, or should be. He should be the talent and the writer. You know what I mean? So he's just looking for a producer. The singer may just be the talent. And now I got to find a good writer, and I got to find a good producer. So I think a lot of times, like, that's a hard thing to do. All right, y'all, real quick, as always, Apartment 5B, sponsored by So What's the Scenario? It's about this time for another game, y'all. JR he still got the chip. Eddie, you got a chip. I think Porsche got a chip. I'm the goddamn host, and I ain't won nothing. Next time, we gonna start this. We gonna play this during the day, and I just want everybody to tell their families I ain't coming out until Kill wins. So I don't know when, when we going out after this, because I'm gonna win one of these games. We gonna win one of these games. So check it out. SoWhatGames.com. Use promo code Apartment 5B. You'll get free shipping. Eddie, let them know where they can get at you, good brother.
Yeah, man. Twitter at EddieD80, Instagram, Freestyles, and freestyles.com.
All right. Well, let them know where they can get at you with the clothing line and everything, good brother.
Yeah, Uptown J Ben on the gram, JBen215 on Twitter, Fair Grade, that's on the hat, at Fair Grade on the gram. Pray for me.
Oh, I do not like Rel like this.
I was just about to say. I said, bro, if I wasn't going to Cancun, I'd be like, yo, bro, let's go get a cheesesteak tomorrow, man. Fuck it, like, let's get together, like, let's go somewhere, man.
Oh my God.
When I get back from Cancun, we hanging out, man. We going somewhere, man. Especially if we don't win this series, man. We definitely gonna need to support each other.
Yeah, man. Y'all gonna need to get together then.
Yeah.
I love Vern.
Yo, it's all good because here's the thing. Like I said, and this is the type of fan I am. Yo, I take my hats off to people when people play great. You know what I mean? So I had to take my hat off to y'all. Like, yo, it ain't like we lost that game. Like it was a close game. Yo, y'all came back and won that game. So I salute whatever.
Thank you for being the only one to say that. Because if you watch anything on ESPN, it ain't about what the Hawks did, it's what Philly didn't do. That's the narrative on all this. Yeah.
But the thing we got to understand too is that all these people, it's almost like trying to sell newspapers. You know, it's like trying to sell viewership. So what's something sexier to say? Not that the Hawks won it, that the Sixers lost or whatever. So all the time, like they got to put up those titles. You know what I mean?
Lou Williams like 17 straight points.
Bro, Lou Williams won the game, dog, because we were dead in the water. We was dead in the water, yeah.
Because he wanted to get back to ATL to get some wings. So, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. JR, let them know where they can get at you, good brother.
All right, just the RBReps.com, the RB Reps on Instagram. Our new episode this Sunday, we're doing Here, My Dear. We're talking about that album in full. We talking about that with Law, Planet 12 Law. So we talking about that with him, and we go in on that. So I can't wait for that to come out. So yeah, R&B Reps, RBReps.com, the R&B Representatives, and JR World of Soul on Twitter and Instagram.
That's it. Vern, let them know where they can come to ATL and buy a house, man.
Yeah. What is it? Be the Loan Closer on Instagram and V Chandler 10 on Twitter. And JR, you seen Again and Again video, Carmen Rogers?
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hey man, when the intro joint coming out, man? Okay.
Yeah.
That's all you had to say. And you already know this with me. 889 Twitter, IG. We'll make beats for food. Me and Vague's new joint, Willmatic, dropping on Monday.
Okay, cool.
June 21st. It's all about his cousin Ill Will from Queensbridge, the one Nas always shouting out. All proceeds are going to Will's mom, Miss Versi. Nas talks about Miss Versi in Second Childhood, never curse in front of Miss Versi. That's Vegas' aunt. So all the proceeds from any sales or he's got shirts, all the proceeds is going to his mom and everything like that. So definitely check that out. Yeah. I will get with y'all next week. I will feel better because I'll be coming back from Cancun. So it don't matter.
Please go over there.
I'm gonna feel better. Yeah, I'm going to enjoy it to the fullest. I will check y'all next week, y'all.